ladies and gentlemen, strong first match. How will the second one play out? Well, let's bring out the teams. We begin with DarkZero. Their opponents, Spacestation Gaming. The teams are in their places. Let's send it back to the studio.
Thanks a lot, Jackie. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rainbow Six US Nationals 2019. It's day number 1, and we've already found ourselves with all sorts of action as both maps went the full 15-round distance. We're here, of course, at the Mountain Dew Amp Game Fuel Analyst Corner. My name is Jump. I've got the delightful Rams, and the vivacious Villla is the alliteration that we're going to use for this one. Gentlemen, we had a fantastic setup, of course, in the first one. Both of your predictions wrong. Sonic's walking away with a 2-0 victory, but now we've got another crowd favorite. We heard the screams from everybody in the audience. It's going to be DarkZero versus a returning Space Station Gaming that were at the US Nationals last year.
So obviously the favorites are DarkZero, but in the crowd, all the cheers I heard at first, it sounded like it was just their family and friends. And when Space Station came out, everybody went crazy. So it just shows the amount of love that both of these teams have, but also it's important to point out, both of these teams just lost in the championship game. One, DarkZero in the Pro League Finals, and then in Croatia last weekend, Space Station Gaming.
And Space Station also lost to Navi, who played in the finals versus DarkZero. So neither of those teams able to come up with a win there, but Space Station just played a very strong showing at the OGA pit in Croatia. The thing about the difference between the USN and the OGA pit in Croatia, this is not double elimination. We saw them falter a little bit. During that tournament, they lost to MIBR, were able to fight through the loser's bracket and come back to play against MIBR again and beat them, but this time they're going to have to make sure that they don't trip and fall on their face on their way to potentially go into the finals, because I think that either of these teams from this matchup could win this entire tournament.
Right.
Bolts, Bosco, Thinking Nade, Rampy, and of course the man on the end that we have to make sure to highlight. It is none other than Canadian himself. A big question mark coming in onto this, of course swapping over from Entry Fragger, now being the hard breacher for this team. Villla, do you feel like that addition and swap for him is going to be beneficial?
Oh, it's going to be great. Yeah, I love Chala, I love Redeemer, and everyone else that Canadian came afterwards with. But Canadian, he has a big name in the community for a reason. But at the same time, he still has a lot to prove because people are saying this is like the lower end of his career. So Canadian has the biggest chip on the shoulder, especially after leaving Evil Geniuses.
And coming in to play a IGL on this team and then being placed on the hard breacher role is very different from the IGLing that we've seen him do on other teams. We've seen him mostly as an entry fragger when on other teams while he's IGLing. But I think that pulling him back into the support role is important because he won't bottleneck his vision during his IGLing.
All right, well, looking onto the other side of the stage, we're going to have none other than DarkZero Esports, and if we pull up their roster, they've got some fraggers that are ready to rock and roll as well, with Mint, Hot and Cold, Skies, Hyper, and Eclipse. Eclipse, of course, returning this time, not on Rogue, as they don't find themselves here, and him having this first best of 3, a chance on his road to being a 2-peat champion at USN.
This is scary. Okay, Skies and Eclipse joining the #1 team in NA, that is the most frightening thing, but on top of that, no one knows what roles these guys are going to play. The biggest question is, what's Skies going to do? Is Skies going to be the entry fragger with Nyx leaving? What is Eclipse going to do? This is going to be so fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's when you really look at the team like DarkZero, they're very coordinated, methodical, and a lot of their intel comes from behind, with supporting drones and pre-placed drones and all sorts of areas that always make sure that all the intel is pinpoint accurate. So we're just going to see how well Skies and Eclipse fit into the roles into the shoes that they're filling of BC and Nyx.
And the maps are going to be interesting because these two teams are the most tactical, methodical, well thought out teams here this weekend. And DarkZero, they're definitely known for intel and droning. To me, the best droning team in NA that we've seen in a long time. They always know where somebody is in rotations of Chris.
Well, not only do we have to figure out how this intel is going to go, but we got to see how these players step up. Of course, we've got CGG rocking the stats in the back. And if we take a look at our player comparison for this match, we've got Skies versus Bosco. Now, of course, you talked about Skies and the question marks surrounding him, but we've all seen Bosco before, and consistency needs to be consistent if they want to take down the juggernaut that is DarkZero.
When it comes to Bosco versus Skies, obviously you see a big difference in opening in KD. Ratings are similar, even though Bosco's is still better. But one thing to point out is Skies on Reciprocity was playing support. He was not playing what you would typically think of him in terms of like how good his gun skill is and how consistent and knowledgeable he is in the game and his versatility when it comes to playing operators. So those stats might be a little bit nerfed in terms of, you know, what Skies is really capable of, but that was an accurate representation of Bosco. He has proven time and time again to be one of the most consistent and intelligent players in North America.
And the one thing about Bosco, we saw that his most picked operator was Legion, and notably his best Legion play was on Coastline to qualify here in USN. But both of these two teams, they faced off a number of times in the qualifiers as well. I think Bosco is going to be the player to see because he potentially can be a star. Doesn't matter what role he plays, he can do it all. Legion, smoke, roaming, doesn't matter.
I think that's going to be the big difference that we find ourselves here with match 2 versus what we had earlier. It was two varying play styles that you had between, of course, Tempo, Storm, and the Sonics. Now that information is king, especially in a game like Rainbow Six Siege, it's going to be up to whether or not these decision makings for these teams work in a cohesive fashion. If everyone can press the go button at the same time, there's good things bound to happen for either one of these teams.
Yeah, and it talks about DarkZero's play style. Yes, they are one of the best drone teams out there, and when they're on attack, the way they hunt down roamers is absolutely scary. They love to box you in a corner and make sure you have nowhere to leave, and most of the times we see a 2v1 or 1v1 whenever you try to take out someone holding a room on the other side of the map. But DarkZero, they will send 3 to 4 people there. They want to confirm that kill to move on to the site.
What the one thing about both of these teams, they have great time management skills when it comes to attack. They're very good at just pinpointing what's most important and taking control of it quickly. When it comes to advantages and disadvantages about the roster mania, the disadvantage for DarkZero is that they might not be as well-oiled of a machine as we've seen in the past. But the advantage to that also is that Spacestation won't really know how they're going to play because of the roster changes and because of the operator differences. And then on top of that, on the flip side of it, Spacestation just played in the OGA pit. DarkZero have full telegraphed odds of exactly the way they play on what maps, and are probably going to have something, you know, in their pocket to try to counter the way Spacestation plays.
Of course, if you take a look, for those of you that are just joining us at the United States Nationals on the broadcast or live here at the Rio All Suites Hotel, we can give you a nice little overview of what today and the rest of the weekend is going to look like. Currently, we are in match 2 of 4 of the day, specifically in the match 2 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Sonics with a 2-0 victory over Tempo Storm. Sonics finding themselves to be playing against the winner of our current matchup, DarkZero versus Spacestation Gaming. But gentlemen, we've already had one crazy match. We're planning to find ourselves with another, and then we've got 2 more on the opposite side of the bracket later on today.
Yeah, in this matchup, I'm going to say it outright. So when strategical things are even on both sides, I think DarkZero has a heads up because they just have stronger players when it comes to fragging.
As of right now, I agree with you. I want to point out that I think that both of these teams have potential to win the entire tournament. So the winner of this matchup is, you know, very important in general. But I think that DarkZero still have the edge on this one.
Operator selection is something that we saw as a huge disadvantage for Tempo Storm in their loss around. And when we were talking about this before, Villla, you specifically stated that taking a look at where Skies and Eclipse are going to play on this operator, not to put you in the hot seat again, but that's what you signed up for when you decided to be on the desk with me. What are you thinking as far as roles for both of these players and how that's going to play out with the operators?
Roles, since I really don't know how this new DarkZero team are going to play, I'm going to see Hyper just go off as an entry fragger, but also Skies is a support player. Having a player that can get a lot of kills, secure a lot of kills while playing the support role, that's T1. But also on SSG, They're really good. Bosco has the best operator selection out there. He's able to do anything at any given time.
Rams, do you agree? Or you agreed with him last time, and it didn't work out for you as far as predictions go. So you're allowed to change your opinion.
He's trying to set us up, Rams. He's setting us up.
Hey, man, I'm all about the drama.
I make my own opinions.
Oof. Okay.
No one else's opinion influences mine. However, I think that we'll see. I would predict that we're going to see a difference in like the actual roles. I think that on defense, Skies will be more roaming, flexing kind of thing. I don't think he'll play support. I think that Mint and Hot and Cold will take care of a lot of support on defense. And on attack, I could see Skies playing a secondary entry or a flexible character to play off of Hyper, because Hyper is hyper aggressive.
Yeah.
Hence his name. And then Eclipse, I think, is going to fill in and play a more true flex role on attack and defense.
Agreed.
All right, gentlemen. Well, the conversation is almost over because now it's time to reveal where we're going as far as the map goes. Of course, the map veto has concluded. Clubhouse being taken away, as well as Bank, which means it's going to send us to Coastline for map number 1. Then we're heading off over to Villla. Of course, Cafe, followed up by Border is a ban, which means the decider match will be on Consulate. Do we find ourselves with a favor of SSG or DarkZero with this map selection?
SSG.
Yeah, I'm looking at the maps right now, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a SSG-sided map selection. Coastline was banned 21 times by DarkZero, and Villla has been banned 25 times for Coastline and 21 times for Villla. So the first two maps are, not DarkZero's best maps.
No, not at all. And we've seen SSG and Evil Geniuses on Villla a lot, but they're pretty decent. They're extremely competitive, and with that IGL and leadership coming in from Canadian, where he's able to share these strategies with this team, SSG might pull this out, man.
All right.
They can definitely do it, but I think that DarkZero with Skies and Eclipse, they might have a completely different map pool now. So potentially map ban statistics might just prove to be completely
Throw it out the window.
Well, we're going to throw the statistics out the window, but you're going to be back on paper for predictions. Gentlemen, our match 1 didn't go so well for you guys. Of course, you both predicted the 2-1 for Tempo Storm. Now, you get a moment of revival. You have DarkZero, you have Spacestation Gaming, the winner facing Sonics, of course, tomorrow in the semifinals. What are we having?
On paper, DarkZero looks like the best, but I have a gut feeling, and I had it this morning, that Spacestation were going to win.
I'm going to stick to my guns and say I just had a little bit of bad luck this morning and pick DarkZero still.
All right. Well, we know what the analysts over here at my corner think. Now, what about you at home? What did you guys have? We put it to a community vote, and 58% of you with DarkZero, 42%. So, gentlemen, it's a little bit closer, even in the eyes of the community.
Yeah, but DarkZero, they have a huge fan base, even though the crowd was leaning towards Spacestation. I doubt they voted on their cell phones. But yeah, DZ, they on paper, they should run away with this, but I don't think so.
Well, we're going to have to find out, and that time to find out is right about now. The Eastern Conference playoffs continue with DarkZero Esports versus Space Station Gaming. We gave Intero and Emzo a break, as well as some lessons and some better jokes, and we replaced them with 2 fantastic humans. Of course, we've got Stokes and Blue for the call for the next match. Gentlemen, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Jump. And it is our pleasure to be jumping into this next game, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to the Rainbow Six US Nationals. I'm here with Stokes, and this is leading up to be a pretty interesting matchup with all of the story potential coming into it. Right?
It's always that word that we use, right? It's a caster's favorite word, interesting. But I really feel like this one right now is going to be interesting, folks. And here's why. All 3 of these maps are some of the most banned maps by these teams. Collectively, there's 20 bans on Coastline alone between these 2 teams. This matchup is set to be insane.
It's going to be pretty interesting when you look further into that map pool. Some of the more common picks from DarkZero are just not seen here at all. Some of the bans, of course, also being pretty predictable too, like DarkZero knocking out Clubhouse. We've seen SSG be pretty much flawless on that map in recent history, so that makes sense there. But yeah, it's a lot of new maps being brought into the pool here for DarkZero. Some of the maps that seemingly were pretty strong for some of the new pickups, other teams as well. So it has to wonder, are they bringing in some of these strategies from the other teams? Are they trying to incorporate new stuff now with 2 new members being put onto their squad?
Yeah, it's going to be a deep dive into the playbook here to try and bring some things out to throw the other team off, because look at these bans, folks. This is truly impressive. On our CGG stats, they go back about 3 months, but we traditionally go back about 6 months, so that's even exponentially growing those bans for everyone at home. You saw that DarkZero, 25 bans on Coastline. That's insane.
Well, we are going to move into the match now and start to look at the opening operator bans for our first map on Coastline. Jackal is going to be the first one knocked out by DarkZero. Again, following normal trends in the game right now.
Secondary ban's going to be Nomad. Again, pretty regular ban nowadays. She does a very good job of shutting down those super aggressive outside takes by the defense to try and knock anyone off of rappel, which is a big thing on Coastline. You're going to see a lot of people holding those angles to shut down staircases as well as the billiards room when they do go over to hookah billiards.
Valkyrie going to be your next knockout. A lot of intelligence has been coming out of Valkyrie as we've been seeing over the last year or so now. It was actually at this event where we had seen her get buffed up quite a bit last year and started to see her play become pretty quintessential to most matches. Echo is going to be our final ban. Again, he has the capability to instantly interrupt any plant attempt, and oftentimes that has won many defensive teams rounds. So they do not want to deal with that, especially given the open nature of this map, so they'll ban him out as the final ban.
Yeah, with Echo removed, he's the second most banned operator on the defense, the first being Mira, and we're actually going to have her in play, which opens up a particular site that we don't see too often on Coastline, which is going to be Penthouse. You're kind of required to have Mira there because you need instant vision into the Masters area of that room or the Penthouse area in order to stop plants and things along those lines. If you don't have her, then it's very difficult. You kind of have to make makeshift ones with either Valkyrie cameras or Maestros, but obviously not having Valkyrie in this lineup would take away from that. But we will have her inside of that nonetheless. We will have SSG starting on the offense, though, as we start things off between these two teams, and I'm really feeling like this is going to be going the full distance, to be completely honest, just to start us off right off the bat.
All right, well, let's see how it goes. The last time we did see DarkZero jump onto this map, it didn't really go too well for them, unfortunately. It was against Na'Vi at the Pro League Finals, and they only managed to pick up 3 rounds on it overall. Na'Vi took them down 7-3. They managed to pick up a pretty convincing win there, so let's see if they've improved since then.
So for Kitchen in particular, you want to make sure that you have that vertical pressure held down, because if they get control of VIP or Penthouse, they can use Sledge to the best of his ability, break open a lot of the flooring, and it's going to make it extremely dangerous to rotate in between the two sites of A and B. You don't want to be near the service area, and also you don't want to be inside of that kitchen area, because the hot zone is right there where the pantry-esque area is, where you see that shelving behind the A bomb. So that's always a very, very difficult place in order to play, especially when they have that vertical pressure. So that's what's going to be fought for over this war in the round of 1.
Well, you're going to see those outside default cams getting knocked out relatively quickly by the opening squad, as would normally happen, of course, and the rest of SSG taking a pretty passive start to this one, to be honest. Pretty much no one entering the building to start things off here. A lot of players trying to check upstairs and clear out some of the potential roaming presence that might be here from DarkZero. But as you can tell from the silhouettes currently on Fultz's screen, there really isn't a whole lot of it going on in the areas of the map they're trying to investigate. So Spacestation's going to have a pretty easy time getting this map control right now.
Rampy already inside of luggage as he rotates down towards the eastern stair. White stairs being occupied currently by DarkZero. And again, it's going to be a hard-fought battle for this top control. Plenty of soft destruction, 3 soft destruction operators allocated by Spacestation Gaming. And that's something that is very unique to Coastline. You don't need a hard destructor in order to attack this map. A lot of teams going away from that. We've seen quite a few teams play Habana, though, for particular sites, but definitely not going to be this one. Hot and Cold going to be reading out some info from underneath, and you'll see Rampy inside of Guitar.
Rampy, in the meanwhile, will now start to knock out the floorboards, give the team a bit of a capability to try and start punching down. Hopefully find out a few of these players. In the meantime, Hot and Cold still hot on the trail of one of his opponents, is looking for the capability to try and throw a C4 on the floor and knock specifically Rampy out of the play. Rampy knows that something's going on here. He's going to have to be careful given the amount that he's already knocked out. So he'll make one last little dash over here and try to use some of the last few of his skeleton key shots before, there we go, Hot and Cold. Patience ends up working out well for him as he finally finds his mark on Rampy.
It's a full horizontal hold for DarkZero. No pressure up top. They might try and rotate up a staircase later, but they're more than likely going to be a Claymore setup. Mint inside of Sunrise, Hyper in blue, Skies playing inside of Security. They're trying to shut down all of these staircases. Skies with the initial fight. Oh no, Fultz to win it out. Skies falters inside of Security. So they have a little bit of a foothold on the main floor now. Hyper might rotate though from office.
Canadian still trying to get some intel here as he goes for a drone into the main bathroom by the site. Fultz actually going to take a bit of pressure over by the nearby hallway, but unfortunately for his opponent, no damage will be found. However, that'll change quickly in SSG's favor as Thinking Nate will pick up the next frag against Hot and Cold, a trade to the player they lost earlier. Mint, however, will trade that right back for DZ. And this has become an incredibly stalemated affair. Spacestation need to find some way to make progress. They've got a 1-for-1 as they finally commit to a push. But again, everything goes quiet just a few seconds later. Flash lands right in front of the next opponent here for SSG as they move in. Oh, Volts missing the initial knife. Thankfully, Eclipse still blinded from it. The flashbang that was thrown just seconds before, so he's still able to get a second attempt. Now Plant will go down, and everything falls to Mint in a 1v2 clutch. A perfect first shot on Volts knocks him out, and now everything falls to a 1v1.
SSG with the Dokkaebi as the very, very large Maestro begins to rotate into the pantry area. Shots flying through the wall, but he's not even looking the right way just yet. The DMR from range, and Spacestation with the very first round down to a 1v1. And right there, that scary knife set up there from Fultz after that stun grenade. Laughing it off. It's the very first round of the day. You know, get all the badness out and move on with it.
Absolutely. Definitely don't want to have that happen on a much more pivotal round. That's for certain. And it's good that we see Fultz showing up here in the first round with those very pivotal kills for his team. He had, statistically speaking, a pretty unfortunate turn of events back at OGA. There was one stat category we were seeing him shine in, though, where the rest of his team really didn't, and that was in the opening kill department. The problem became, though, was that for as many opening kills as he was getting, he was also the opening death for the team quite often. So while he would usually end up with the highest amount of those opening kills, he was also usually the highest on opening deaths. So cleaning things up nicely here and finding a clean performance in the first round, a great way to start this tournament off.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they
Canadian, 6 picking away from the Ying. Something that we don't see too often inside of professional play is Ying. She's an extremely rare pick now because of, well, not very recent anymore, but she had a nerf that flipped the timers on her Kandalas. Those Kandalas are stun grenades that launch, well, practically 20 stun grenades into the same room. Everyone's blinded. She gets to run in with glasses that stop that and gets to shoot everybody in their face for free. But it's a lot harder to do that now because of that timer. You have to play a little bit more passively, and it's really difficult to get her utility inside anyways with Jaeger existing, and as well as Wamai on the way. You're more than likely not going to see her in the future either. DarkZero, though, still on defense. First round didn't go too well in their favor. They had a good trade and a good fight over lobby, but eventually it fell into the hands of Spacestation Gaming. It seems that DarkZero is really favoring these horizontal holds and putting a couple people on Roam in tandem. We've seen, at least in the last round, that they put 3 on Roam. We had 3 different areas of the map held down on that horizontal hold that we saw the last time. Space Station, though, just completely went around it, decided to go upstairs, take that vertical pressure since they had all of the soft destruction in the world, and it ended up working out for them in the end. DarkZero now, though, putting 2 people downstairs, holding down relatively the same areas. We have security. Actually, no, we're going to have 3 once again instead of 2, holding down the exact same areas that they had the last time. Security, offices, as well as Sunrise.
So a lot of delay coming out in the early round here from Space Station, but so far all to lead to an end. So we're now going to see them start to work their way up onto that hookah balcony within the next few seconds. They're droning out some of these windows in the early round. Drone in itself from Canadian now going to start working its way through office. They did miss the one player from DarkZero sitting in the corner. I believe it was either Skies or Eclipse. We'll have to be careful of that moving into the office area if they decide to pursue it. It seems like that's going to be the case, and it's actually Mint hiding out. Phone's ringing though, so they're going to have a good idea as to where he is. Canadian picks up that opener, but gets traded, and even worse, drops the diffuser in the process.
Oh no, and that sledge as well. Quite a bit of soft destruction gone with that sledgehammer off the field, and still plenty of presence downstairs. Fultz trying to clean up the pieces though, and he can't win it out against Eclipse, but it's immediately traded. Seems like these two are neck and neck between the rounds so far. Rapid destroying a phone, I believe, so quickly, or whatever may have you, had fallen on the ground, but still going to be a 3v3 between these two. A drone inside of the quad windows over by office and security will find them another target. It's going to be Mint, the Jaeger that we saw earlier, hiding inside, underneath the table inside of offices, thinking Nate hot on the trail, but not fast enough.
Got a few players from SSG going to try to relocate upstairs and make an aqua push happen here. There is pressure coming at them still from DarkZero's side on the luggage window that they were just looking at seconds before, and you could see the player that's giving them that pressure. Mint trying to hold them back, trying to prevent them from moving in, and of course he's giving out the call, so Skies also will start to put himself in position to stop this push now, should it happen. So Space Station is going to remain indecisive. They've backed up now, gone back in for office, and you can see Bosco starting to mess around with the big window by Billiards as well.
This is where things get very difficult. Skies is still alive. If you guys thought any different about his play style, well, doesn't seem like it's going to change too much. Still in the smoke and still using those toxic babes. Rampy fighting his way up. Cool vibes. The Barb should be able to tell the tale of where he is, though. Bosco takes down Skies. It's an immediate trade. They know Mint's off now, and he's the only one remaining. That's going to be a free plant for Thinking Eight as Rampy setting up for the post plant. Going to rotate outside as Mint hightails it through offices all the way across. A very weird route. I'm going to assume he didn't want to challenge immediately into blue, thinking that somebody could possibly be holding his angle. Finds one inside of Sunrise. Oh, pre-fires the wrong way. He's to the right-hand side of the pillar, but Space Station Gaming and specifically Rampy to shut it down.
Old play from Mint with the run out, but in those final seconds, the unfortunate positioning as he misses the changeup from his opponent, moving past that pillar in the middle of the Sunrise bar, and that leads to his own defeat. So Space Station are going to be able to get it done at the end of the day as they take a 2-0 lead. Really good stuff from Space Station here so far. Didn't end up just rushing into Aquarium in that late round situation where they more than likely would have gotten crunched. They pulled out and they took a lot of time to analyze the site, and I think even managed to find 1 or 2 picks from the windows before even executing. So nice way to change up the round and ensure that they ended up with a win there.
Yeah, the failure from DarkZero's side came from giving up vases there near the end of the round, where you saw Rampy rotate up Cool Vibes and there was nobody home. He just had free space to occupy. Able to take that over, gets a frag onto Skies, and that opens up all of the options in order to get a diffuser down in that instance. And then obviously Mint being the only remaining member of the team downstairs, not in the best spot to try and stop a plant.
So DarkZero are going to continue to swap between the sites here. They'll go back to their original choice of the service entry kitchen and see if they can hold this better on a second attempt. Setup should be relatively the same, however, and now it's going to be up once again here to their opponent's SSG to keep things going so far. Looking good, coming close, of course, on both of these rounds, but still able to close out at the end of the day. Keeps them in a strong position, 2-0.
Can I say something just off cuff for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's really good to be back casting with you.
Yeah, you
I missed you a lot, man.
Bang, right there.
It's good seeing you again. Glad to be in Vegas with you, and glad to be with everybody at home and everybody in the crowd as well. Beautiful to hear you guys' voices. We love all you guys here in North America, and we hope you guys have been enjoying your day so far. It's the only the second game of the day, folks. Make sure you guys are buckled in. Get your popcorn. It's DarkZero SSG. If you're going to make some noise, make sure you make some noise for these guys.
It's not just this match, but we got 2 other awesome best of 3s coming up after this one too, so make sure you're sticking around for that. The action has started though, and as the previous rounds have gone, I'm not expecting anything crazy to happen here with Space Station being at the front of the attack. So far, the first 2 rounds have opened up pretty passively from them as they spend it just droning for the most part, not even really trying to push any of their players into the building, although it does look like they're starting to get a bit more confidence now when it comes to the early round, as players like Rampy are moving in much earlier than we saw further back in the game.
Starting off inside of Luggage again, we saw this exact same take from them the last time in round 1. Rampy still having frag grenades as well as the round still early on. They have all the top pressure in the world, and again, just like we told you last time, this is very, very important for these bottom sites, whether it be Double Bar or Kitchen. Those are the only 2 downstairs sites on Coastline, and since they do have the top control now, they can break up all of the flooring, get all of those rotations cut off inside of sight, make it a little bit easier on them. There's a little bit of utility dedicated upstairs, but there's not going to be a roam game anymore, as Rampy's going to make sure of that, clearing the entire area. A little bit of soft destruction to look down into lobby to see if anybody's hiding behind the desk, but it's only going to be Houghton that's currently hiding behind a wall with a cardiac sensor.
Hot and Cold back in round 1 was ultimately able to get the better of his opponents. This time though, at least with Eclipse's Nitro Cell, it's not looking like a mark is going to be found. If he can, he might want to try and retrieve that, but unsure if the ceiling there will allow him to pick it back up or not. By the way, a bit of pressure starting to show its way in here for Space Station. We do see that Nitro Cell get blown, but as you can see from the silhouette, a wild 2 to 3 seconds late there, way off the mark.
Yeah, trying to coordinate a Nitro Cell to where when they rotate over, you don't have to put the cardiac sensor away, then blow it. You can do it a lot faster, but a little bit too late there as another one's going to go off. Rampy's going to take a lot of damage from that Nitro Cell. Houghton's still working this cardiac sensor, and Pole's such a beautiful operator. That's going to be the 3rd Nitro Cell actually, but no, he gets down by Canadian, countering out the operator. We see him on quite often on the defense, and this is going to shut down DarkZero on their defensive round. They still need to take oversight, but they can't read as much of this information on the offensive side as easily. Going to have to rely on goo mines as well as just default cameras since Valkyrie's been taken away. away. Utility now being dedicated towards side. As you can see, Canadian ready himself with that crossbow. Thinking Nade cutting off the rotation from Sunrise, recognizing out that last time someone was playing in here, and he'd be absolutely correct. Bolts to take down one. All of a sudden, it's into a 5v2. Eclipse cuts down one. Canadian with a suicide. Oh no! Hyper all by himself now in the 1 versus 4 as he tries to run back to site. Diffuser now going down, so that will extend the round, and this is more than likely going to be falling into the hands of Spacestation Gaming.
Hyper gonna try his best to rotate into some type of position where he can work something, but it's not gonna happen. SSG continue to dominate here on Coastline with a 3-0 lead. Wouldn't be a tournament without a Canadian like utility self-death, right?
Yeah, you know?
Like, let's be very, that was not his fault. He just went down in a very I think he got downed in his own firebolt, and then the firebolt killed him, I'm pretty sure. And that's why it looked like he killed himself.
It's just the dog.
Not sure if that was actually
fine. Like,
quite literally in that case.
Oh no. I mean, hey, they still won the round. He was the only casualty, so you know, it works. It works. Well, DarkZero, they need to try and get some stuff figured out, and that's more than likely why we are on a timeout right now. And yes, it is going to be DarkZero's timeout, as you can see on the left-hand side of your guys' screen. So Bacon feeling like he can help out the team just a little bit, remotivate, do something along those lines, because they need something right now. Coastline is a map that is a teeter-totter. That's what I've always described it as. It's something that when 2 teams get on it, it really just depends on those 2 teams' playstyle against each other as to how the map's going to go. It's pretty equal as to who's going to win defense and who's going to win offense. Sometimes it's super defensive-sided because of the team. Sometimes it's super offensive-sided. We might have a super offensive-sided map here, but as we've talked about, you know, with storylines and everything leading up to this event, DarkZero has 2 new people on the roster in the likes of Eclipse and Skies, so you can always lead that into a factor as well. They've only been there for about 3 weeks, and that could always tell you why these defenses aren't so meshed. The issue is now, though, is that defense is usually where it's easier to coordinate things. Offense is where you need a lot of free balling and a lot of on-the-fly calls in order to make things work.
There's a lot of work we need to see done by DarkZero relatively quickly. The biggest thing, especially when it comes to trying to play into that kitchen site, we need to see more upstairs presence. At the moment, they're just giving it over to SSG on every single round. And to be fair, they are fighting back against it quite a bit with a Nitro Cell presence, especially because they know it's going to be Buck. And one time they have been able to successfully deal with that. But even so, the amount of control that gives SSG to work flanks, try to drop down, play on both the staircases to push into that site, and potentially have pressure coming in there, I think it's just giving them too much room to work with right now.
It's something that a lot of teams do because you don't have to risk your entire body in order to get a Nitro Cell off. You just kind of have to read into the information and go, okay, he's walking here, boom, we got a kill, or hey, we didn't get a kill, we just got a lot of damage. But the issue is that after the Nitro Cells are expelled, all you have is just open flooring, and they just get to kill everyone inside of the site like fish in the barrel. And for DarkZero, that seems to be the case almost every single round. They're going to be rotating over to, I believe, Double Bar. Yes, they are going to the Double Bar site. So we're going to have Hyper on Vigil, which we haven't seen him pick up just yet. This will be the first time. And they're actually not playing Jaeger, which is something that we don't see too often just because he's the only person in the game right now that counters throwables.
The other issue that was popping up for me here for DarkZero as well is with the kind of really slow, very drone-focused play we're seeing from SSG right now, you know, calling off executes to try and get more intel and just snipe out players from windows and things like that. Because of how passively DarkZero has been playing, you know, very minimal roam presence, things of that nature, it's kind of just been playing right into SSG's hands because they're able to get all of this intel before they even think about executing. And hello, Sky's going to try something a little bit cheeky here with the run out, but not going to be able to find anything with it for the time being. So we'll just toss a pest down and run right back to the inside of service.
All right, well, slow goings for Spacestation. They've done a very good job of coordinating with Bosco on these takes in that Dokkaebi. It's really helped them out quite a lot. And specifically in that 1v1, Bosco was able to keep a bead on his target because of that logic bomb. Obviously, you don't want to stop in a 1v1 to answer your phone call that you're getting. Not the best time to try and take a business email or anything like that. So looks to be a top clear once again, and Thinking Nade going to start us off. That's going to be Mint, and I have no idea how in the hell he got that. That man's supposed to be on site, but instead he will be dead. They're going to find Hyper upstairs as well as he hightails it to main stairs.
Good attempted trade from DarkZero right there, and Spacestation as well, trying to pick one up as he runs away and attempts to retreat. But it's a nice play right there from Rampy. Good mental decision-making here as well to back out of that duel he took right at the VIP entryway. Saved his own life and still has a little bit of HP left to fight a little bit later on in this round here.
Well, still one logic bomb as they have all of the top pressure. And again, Hyper's already left. They do have one on Cool Vibes. It's going to be, I believe, Houghton as a smoke. If I remember, if I know that outline, that silhouette properly. It's the one difficult thing about our spectator system as the moment. But Fult's going to dump some stun grenades into Cool Vibes. Again, they have all the top pressure, but they want to lock down the staircases just to make sure that no one can possibly rotate up, specifically Hyper. Obviously, he does have that ERC-7 backpack, so he can make it seem like he has presence there, but when you have the staircases locked down, you know he can't make it up. Nitro Cell goes off underneath for, again, a little bit of damage onto Rampy, but not enough to be fatal. It's going to be twice in a row that he has taken a little bit of damage, but hasn't died. Bosco's going to find two, switches over to the EBR as he's trying to hold down the rotation for Office.
Down to the final minute of the round, both teams at stalemates in multiple portions of the map right now, but SSG still with the man advantage, if only slightly. Problem for SSG becomes that timer, though, as it continues to tick further and further towards zero and out of their favor. DarkZero sits ready and waiting to defend this site with 4 of their players in position. So what's the plan here from SSG? Once again, a lot of drone work being done very late into the game, and it's working yet again as well. Canadian finding yet another mark here against Hot and Cold and bringing this down to a 5v3. Trades will start to come in, though, from Skies, who makes a big play, working himself up the Cool Vibe stairs. Plan attempt is going to come in, and Thinking Nade is able to secure himself another kill. We do have Bosco, who attempt to find another knock here, but he's not going to be able to get it. So now Thinking Nade sits alone. He'll attempt to move in and get Bosco up. He's going to take a little bit of heat in the process of trying to do it. Successfully gets his teammate up, yes, but now can they get the plant down? 7 seconds remaining. They'll start the first attempt. A nice play from Hyper to pick up the next frag on Bosco. Plant going down here, and Hyper is going to be able to finish things off, finally putting DZ on the board.
And that's why you hold down your staircases, folks. Skies rotates up Cool Vibes, gets a double kill. No one paying attention to the stairs. No utility dedicated there. He's able to kill the people holding the top pressure inside of Hookah, and he takes it over, even stopping the plant from upstairs. So great stuff by Skies overall in order to get DarkZero their very first round, and that needs to set pace for the rest of this series on the defensive side.
Skies stepping up big here to give DarkZero the first round. Again, he jumps in as the new member, one of the new members, we should say, for the first time here in an official.
I really like how DarkZero's been playing so far with their operator lineups and everything. It seems that DarkZero's a lot more opted to give operators to people that have the hot hand now, whereas with Rex, Skies really just stuck onto Smoke or those defensive operators a lot of the time, unless he was on offense where we saw him playing IQ or more fragging-based operators. This time around, he had the hot hand. He had Mozzie when he did that. He wasn't playing Smoke. He wasn't playing anything else. This time around, he's playing Jaeger. So, did he switch over? No, he did not. We do still have Jaeger. Wanted to make sure. So, but we are going to have that Mozzie still on the field, which seems to be very effective towards SSG just because they've been droning out so much. You guys saw some of the drone game there. Well, flashes of it as we saw that camera on Cool Vibes was getting a lot of intel onto the Smoke that was playing couches inside of Sunrise and things along those lines. So DarkZero trying to counter as much as they possibly can, but it's definitely still going to be pretty difficult with that Dokkaebi on the field.
So once again, we are going to go back downstairs here into the service and kitchen sites. Third time now that we have seen DZ attempt this. Both times prior to this have failed. So, only time to see if they can pick this up a little bit and win a second round for themselves and try to chase this towards an ultimate 3-3 scoreline at halftime, which is still in the realm of possibility. It's something that DarkZero desperately will probably want to have happen, given some of the difficulties that may show up for this team on attack right now.
Well, Fult's still on the Ash. He's been working well so far. This kid has aged so well inside of the competitive scene. He got picked up a little while ago by SSG in place of, I believe, Redeemer, if my Wikipedia brain's working properly. But Fult's overall, so impressive, man. He was super impressive inside of CL for NA, not this last season, but the season before that, which would be season 9. And then he got picked up by SSG, and he's just been running amok of a lot of people so far, including Eclipse, who's going to get immediately fragged out. And this is what we expected from him. He used to be a utility-based player that, you know, he had that gun skill, he had that brain, but now SSG's just cut him loose from the chain, said, here's your Ash, go have some fun.
So this is looking like a much more promising round right now from SSG. Great opener coming in from Fultz specifically, who essentially got both of those kills. He got the down onto the Mozzie as well. Just obviously didn't want to risk his own life to get the confirm, so they had Thinking Nade do that for them from, I believe, the kitchen window. Besides that, not a whole lot being done by DarkZero. That doesn't mean they're not attempting to do anything, though. You can still see Ella trying to play out over towards Office. Just some of this position is not going to align too well with what Spacestation is actually doing. Faults, specifically now moving into Sunrise, will be able to traverse through there relatively easily. Skies as well, trying to play from a power position. Oh, hold on. There's a chance for them to do something. Canadian actually is going to be able to kill Mint on a run out. Ella, along with Skies here. Both Hyper and Skies make a play, though, on Rampy and easily knock him out in the 2v1 run out.
Well, you can already see the cohesion of DarkZero working out, even though they're still pretty young inside of their new team. Volts pre-fires onto the angle inside of Blue Bar, but he's run out of a lot of bullets through that magazine. Only had 11 remaining, could have possibly taken one gunfight, but it's not going to matter too much anymore. Hyper and Skies both locked down in the southwest corner of the map. Volts takes down one. That'll be a double for him on the round. Looking for two, but Skies still inside of Blue Bar. Timer continues to tick down as 4 members remain on Space Station Gaming, and Thinking Nade from downrange will take him out from lobby.
Cohesion to make plays like that on the run out, that's great, but it's unfortunate that it doesn't really lead to much at this point here. So DarkZero able to secure some solace out of that round, but it means nothing with Space Station still leading at 4-1 over them and dominating this attacking side so far.
It's been a very impressive showing by Space Station, and it's been something that we've looked forward to for a very long time with SSG. They really just need that veteranism, someone to step in there that had been there, had done that, had that veteran IGL type of play style. And I mean, Canadian tweeted it quite a while ago. He thinks he's back. He thinks, you know, that the psychotic Canadian is here to play. And so far, I'd have to agree. The man's doing it all. He's playing the entry fraggers. He's playing Zofia, holding those long angles, winning those gunfights, putting diffusers down. He's doing absolutely everything in his power to make this team win, as well as you know, making the shot calls. So just a very impressive showing from him so far, and it really does look like this might be one of his best lands to date.
Him, Fultz, and Thinking Nade have been doing really good in the early round right now, almost always getting that opening kill for the team, and that's been obviously doing a pretty good job of keeping them ahead here. And once again, the fact that DarkZero's remained pretty passive here has oftentimes opened up those opportunities to do so. I have noticed that the DarkZero's been starting to change that, but at least going off of the last round, it's only served to play things into SSG's hands even quicker than it has previously, with the way that Fultz was able to hunt down 2 players that were caught at the bottom of Cool Vibes last round.
Well, we're going to have the Shield main back at it again. It's Mint from DarkZero running Clash, everyone's favorite operator to hate on the defense, because she slows you down to the point where you're practically not moving. It's very, very annoying. It's hard to deal with, but they do have a direct counter on the offense. It's going to be Canadian, the man with the diffuser, the man with the Zofia, and specifically the man with the concussion grenades. If you use those concussions against Clash, it actually knocks her shield to the side, freeing up her legs to be shot by any incoming fire. So that's going to be a way that you can possibly handle her, but obviously there's more ways than one. You can punch the shield or just use an EMP to make it to where she cannot electrify you walking.
I do like the choice to go onto the Clash, though. It seems like no matter what DarkZero's brought to the table operator-wise, the utility just really hasn't stopped the push for the most part from SSG. So let's just put a giant rock in their face, essentially, now. And that will work 100% more effectively.
Rock in a hard place, my friend. Hopefully they can pinch him out with, you know, Clash. But again, Space Station's done a very good job of doing things in pairs, so I really feel like the Clash is going to need some form of help. And Houghton already has damage done to him again. I don't know how Houghton continues to get himself into these instances where he's taking early fire from sight, but it seems to happen almost every single time. And once again, like we were talking about earlier, Blue, all of top pressure, or at least the other side of the map, has been taken up by SSG with really no regard from DarkZero. They're just kind of like, okay, take it, but once you get a little bit closer to sight, we might do something about it.
Yep. Still has Cool Vibes control along with that hallway for the most part. Mint has positioned himself basically right in the middle of all this action outside of the door leading into Billiards, so he can rotate pretty easily to either one of the sites and get into a position to stop this. You just saw him get hard pinged right there, as SSG is going to try to lock down his location and look to try and isolate that Clash out so it can't be effective when this push happens. A minute remaining, so Space Station do have to figure out their plan relatively soon.
Oh, I wish you guys could have seen that. That was all the way from Courtyard. Eclipse came up under him and threw it into the window for luggage and blew him up inside of there. That was a very creative way, but you do have Pulse as well as another Nitro Cell user downstairs. It's going to be Hyper, but they're trying to rotate up Cool Vibes now as Sky shuts down one. Oh, it seems like this will actually work out by DarkZero, but it's quick trades from Bosco on the double kill with the C75. Bosco to challenge in, but Eclipse to shut him down. Stun grenades now pour in from Fultz. He still has one more. It's the Ash special. Stun yourself in, work your way through, use the R4C to decimate. Another one pours in, but he's going to stun himself instead. You don't want to do that, buddy. But no, no, he finally gets outside, has one more inside, and no, won't happen. DarkZero, round 6. It's going to be their second round overall.
Good stuff from DarkZero there. Again, the clash play ends up being pretty quintessential for how they win this. There's almost an over-focus, I want to say, from SSG on trying to knock out the clash, and that leads to a lot of lost opening duels when they finally commit to their execute, leading to another victory for DZ as we come to the end of the first half.
Overall, a nice take by SSG, but I really feel like they missed the mark downstairs with the roam game. Coastline's not a very big map. It's not very difficult to draw out, especially with a Dokkaebi. You set up your drones, you drop one logic bomb, everybody checks their cameras and goes, did anybody hear a phone ring? Did you hear a phone ring? Okay, cool. Then somebody's here. If you didn't hear a phone ring, then no one's here. That's awesome. We're good. So I'd like to see a little bit more utility use by Spacestation in that regard, if they could possibly make that happen, but it's not going to be happening this map, obviously, as we're switching sides. SSG now on defense, so they will be guarding, I believe, Kitchen first, if I can recognize that site out from the roof. I believe I'm correct, but I always put like a little thing behind it, like an asterisk, like, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
Hey, we're judging off the silhouettes,
yeah.
So don't get mad at us.
Yeah. Welcome to the life of a commentator. Can I recognize that silhouette?
So we do have a little bit of roaming presence. Seems like it's going to be branching out a bit more here. At least it would appear that way, based on 1, the Vigil pick from Canadian, and 2, the reinforcements that he's currently putting up that you can see on the middle right side of the screen. He's doing a lot of it upstairs. He just put a reinforcement adjacent to the hookah doorway to prevent someone from being able to finish him off. We're going along with a few of these hatches that he's going to be reinforcing.
I feel like this is going to be a lot more aggro, similar to how Europe likes to play this map. If you guys want to take a trip down memory lane with me all the way back to the Raleigh Major, you remember this map in particular was played between G2 and Empire, and almost every square footage of this map was fought over by both teams on defense. It did not matter what door you came in, there was someone there to contest you, and this is really giving me that same vibe with how they're setting things up with reinforcements and everything. They want to not give up any map control to DarkZero. You stay outside, that is where you belong.
So it is looking like we did get a little bit of roaming presence, but again, it's not upstairs. It seems like for the most part, again, both teams are going to be perfectly willing on this site to be able to give that VIP control right over to their opponents.
Only 1 Nitro cell on the defense for Spacestation Gaming as well, and no pulse, which is something that we know Canadian very, very well for, but instead, as we talked about earlier, he's going to be on the Vigil.
Yeah, we do have a roam game from multiple players over towards like Sunrise and Cool Vibe, as you can see with Canadian right now, but none of it's actually upstairs. So again, you're going to see with Hyper and a few of these other players, they're just going to run right in. No trouble at all unless someone decides to pressure them from stairs.
Well, we are still going to have a Dokkaebi being played, as well as a Gridlock. That's not something we saw too often from Spacestation Gaming. Gridlock, an operator that has track stingers, as you'll see them in the works right now. They lay all these little tracks on the ground and make it to where you take damage as well as yelp when you walk over them. They're very loud, they're very annoying to deal with unless you have an impact grenade. So anybody that has an impact and is on roam, i.e. Canadian, could definitely get rid of those pretty quickly.
We need to see that one dealt with as the leading spike charge is shot out, which stops the rest of them from spreading too.
A bomb has been
However,
located.
that does not mean that she's not have her other 2, as we see Eclipse lining up, well, at least one of those right now. Fault's trying to get something done with that, like you said before, that only Nitro cell that the team has, but it's not going to find its mark. So that is it. That is now unrestricted upstairs controls over to DarkZero. There's a lot of dodging the Space Station is going to have to do. A lot of looking up and...
Well, Canadian going to get read out on vases, so DarkZero could dispatch him if they wanted to, but they haven't had too much contact just yet throughout the map. They do have map pressure, obviously, but no kills. They do have a little bit of damage into Fultz, Minister knows to the floorboards. Mint pre-firing through a bush, but he's going to come back empty-handed. 48 seconds remain, still plenty of utility to be used to try and get this diffuser down. Nades now coming in to try and destroy any bit of utility or burn what they still have. Fultz dies now inside of sight, so that's going to open up the delivery area, or excuse me, service area in order for a plant ramp. He's going to take quite a bit of damage all the way from the back of VIP near that TV area. Canadian with a wide swing takes down one. Nade pours him through the door, but he's going to make sure that he doesn't possibly get fragged out by it. Hyper, what a shot from him as he absolutely rips Canadian. Rotates back in. Rampy, though, to trade it out. It's a 3 versus 3, and Thinking Nade takes down Skies. Mint and Eclipse still outside, one on upside down rappel. So this is still going to be a very tall task for SSG. One Toxic Babe remains in Bosco's hand, and he can defuse through it. Thinking Nade runs outside, gets dispatched quickly. Eclipse, but no, it's going to be Rampy again. He falls. Mint's the only one to remain now. Quick shots, and he's going to have to try and bait with this diffuser. Bosco does have that M590. This thing can either sell you out or win it. It's going to be so very close, folks. Oh my goodness. 3 seconds remain. 2, 1. Bosco gets it.
And Spacestation get away with another round. And honestly, they had no business doing so. Well done from them. Spacestation are going to continue to push ahead in this series now, just a few more rounds away from a win on the first map.
What an impressive play there from Bosco. I mean, that's just by the skin of your teeth, Blue.
Man, like this game for Spacestation specifically has been really weird because every time I see Spacestation make plays, I'm questioning it. I'm like, this is looking weird. This is not looking like it's gonna work. And it's so many times it's panned out for them. It's managed to work.
How dare you question a professional player, Blue? Gosh.
It's been a very strange game for Spacestation. Like the roam clear late in the round after the plant, things such as that. They're catching DarkZero when they're not expecting them to get aggressive, and it's working out for Spacestation. So really, hats off to them right now in this matchup.
I was talking to somebody a while ago, this is probably over 6 months ago at this point, Blue. I was talking to them about Canadian and what makes it difficult to play against him when he was in his prime and all that kind of stuff. And the main thing I got from a lot of people was that once you do one thing to Troy and it beats you, or excuse me, and it beats them, he knows how to counter it the very next time around. And it seems like Canadians kind of fallen back into that now, where he's like, okay, I know how you guys want to try and handle this, but I know the way that I'm going to counter that. And so far, so good. I mean, the actions speak for themselves, to say the least. I mean, again, we have had some heroics from Bosco right there, which was literally the most minuscule amount of time that you could have to defuse that. But hey, it worked out. Bait with the diffuser, M590 doesn't sell you out, and you end up winning.
And again, that relatively passive play. A few players, of course, stretched out on the bottom floor, but full second floor control until the very end for going into the hands, I should say, of DarkZero right there. Still allows for the defenders to pick up a win. Little fact coming here, SSG has struggled holding that hookah site with only a 37% win rate on it over their past 7 matches. DarkZero also seemed to be kind of avoiding the hookah site, only I believe playing it once in that last half. So it seems as though they're also not having the best of straights on that site.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Should also be noted, of course, DarkZero is a little bit harder to judge for site proficiency, given that they're, again, working with 2 new players.
Well, run clear from DarkZero, hot and cold on the Buck, making the long angles. This is a favorite of a lot of professional players because Buck has so much utility to make those new angles and surprise a lot of roamers. Specifically with angles like this. I mean, you're never going to expect them to all of a sudden have an open angle from office all the way through blue bar holding the kitchen door. You might expect somebody to be holding blue bar trying to watch that angle, but not from such a distance. Hot and cold again, clearing through the entire map, but instead of going through traditional pathways, makes his own.
So, now we're going to start to see the drone action continue here for DarkZero. Still plenty of time left in this matchup itself. Rampy as well, going to try and knock out some of those track stingers down below, so he has that rotate option available later on in the game, but he still has full control of Aqua right now. The second they are going to try and see if they can spot him out, he'll use his ability, which again on Vigil, he has the ability to hide himself from drones that the attackers are using. So that's what he's able to do to conceal himself there. Oh, hot and cold, having problems picking a target. Had 2 players dead to rights by the looks of it, but instead gets none of them and goes down to Canadian.
Very unfortunate as Skies rotates upstairs, switching over to the G36C as well. Moved his way on over to the R4C, the true Ash main gun. That's what you have to play with. Don't play with that cog crap, we don't need it. Gotta play with that R4C, baby, come on. Mint holding the angle now for Aquarium as another kill's gonna go down, and seems that it will be Fultz taking down Hyper with that M590. These shotguns working out. Vigil doing his best, gonna take down, oh, Rampy! What a shot, Skies takes down one as well, as it's getting more equal, but it's still gonna be in the favor of SSG. 4-2 in man count. Skies still playing out on the hookah balcony, thinking Nade holding down Vase. Very low time and not very much utility anymore. A quick shot, but he takes him down. Skies, what a shot from range, but Bosco tears one. Skies with another. That's a triple in the round. He's gonna have to ace it out to win, and he has plenty of time, but how much utility does he have? He still has 3 stuns, but it's not gonna matter, and SSG pushes it to the limit on map 1.
Interesting play from Fultz right there, bringing out the Warden to hide out in the corner of hookah. Actually proves to be pretty useful there, as I'm pretty sure he got the 1 kill he picked up off of the use of the glasses. So Very nice play coming out from him right there, as we don't often see that used too much.
He's a niche character, but if used properly, he works.
I mean, you think about that position he was playing. He was just sitting in corner of hookah, where normally people check on a push. You know, if they can't hit him with the flash, he's ready to take that fight, and he wins it most of the time, especially with that M590.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of people wanted him to be a 2-armor 2-speed, because you have to put him in areas where he's going to get utility thrown at him. You know what I mean? So, and that's the only way to make him effective. So he has to be able to at least rotate out. Don't make him a 3-speed, but a 2-speed, I think he's perfect where he's at.
All right, so it's time to see now if Space Station could carry this success onwards. Another win for them upstairs there in Hookah Billiards. And now we just need to see them win one more round here on the defense, and they will take control of map number 1. It's a best of 3, though, so it won't be done just yet. They'll still need to close out at least one more map.
And unlike OGA Pit, this is not going to be a lower bracket. So if you lose, you go home, kind of like Tempo Storm earlier, who ended up losing to the Susquehanna Sonics. Sorry for the spoiler if you guys are trying to watch in order, but, you know, it happens.
Our lower bracket was the like 6 to 8 months of online play.
Yeah,
that was our lower bracket.
It was DarkZero having to try this like 3 to 4 times in order to get here. That's what it was.
I'm pretty sure Space Station made like a clean run. I think they just went straight through. They may have had
Rogue's the worst, or was it DarkZero's?
I think DarkZero's was the messiest.
I think DarkZero had the worst time trying to get here, and they're having the worst time on Coastline, and it's their map pick. So there's that too.
For Space Station, though, everything is smooth sailing, and we'll have to see if that'll remain the case on this final site. We do have DarkZero out onto the board, but as you might expect, with like 12 seconds having gone by, not much has transpired just yet. Everybody kind of taking a step back here, making sure, first and foremost, that we don't have any run-up attempts from SSG.
And DarkZero playing extremely passively. They do not want to misstep, and that's where things can get very dangerous, because you waste a lot of time when you're, you know, not cool, calm, and collected going into the round. You have to check every single window. You got to pre-fire. You got to drone them. All that kind of stuff. That's a lot of time waste, especially when Canadian's still rocking the Vigil, which obviously you can't get an exact beat on him when he has the ERC7 backpack on. So obviously, as you guys can tell from the effects, he's more than likely in here or upstairs. But now they know he's in here. He shoots one of the drones, and now they're going to try and cut off his exits. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place, but if played properly, he could still waste a lot of time. Thinking Nade is actually going to die to Eclipse, I'm going to assume he was rotating either to the outside from the aquarium balcony or through the office's corridor there. Canadian, quite a bit of damage done to him now, as they're really just standing still. I'm surprised that they haven't pushed up Skies or anybody to try and take this over.
And also Canadian already relatively low in this fight here too, at 25 HP, seems to have taken damage earlier, I believe from a peak from almost this exact angle, if I saw the shots correctly from our spectator POV. But it is going to go passive, and to be fair, DarkZero are wasting a lot of time trying to get a single kill. Obviously, of course, following up the one they already got. There we go. Finally, Canadian's dead. But the issue becomes, okay, now we've only got a minute and 20 seconds left. So we've got to hope that the rest of the team made significant progress on getting ready to just follow through with an execute real quick here.
Bosco and Fultz, the only 2 remaining on site. Rampy is off in Narnia. I can't even see him from my overhead point of view on my right-hand monitor here, so I'm going to assume he's probably upstairs doing something. Yep, he is watching the hookah door laying down on the top of Cool Vibe stairs. Fultz with a couple of bullet holes through a window, but you guys haven't seen those too often before, but they definitely exist, and they're definitely extremely dangerous, especially that SMG-11 in the proper hands. That gun is an absolute monster. The best secondary in the game, arguably. Hot and Cold taking over the top floor now. I don't believe he's alone, but he could use some help. Stun grenades now pouring in. Nades everything, as you can see, into the floor. It's going to be a mark on the couches. Hot and Cold cleans up one. Can he get the second? He can! What a shot! Fultz all by himself. If there's a time to make magic happen, Fultz, it's right now. Nitro Cell falls in. Skies? Nope, no kill. He's going to take a little bit of damage, but Hyper, through a couple of punch holes, will make sure to stave off SSG with a flawless round.
Going to be a perfect round from them. Something they finally needed to pick up here. It's going to be a nice little confidence boost for DZ as they clean up their opponents on the double bar sites. This becomes the issue, though, is that we've rotated around the cycle now, and we are going to be going back to one of the previously played sites. It'll be kitchen and service that becomes unlocked on this round. Hookah and billiards will also unlock on the following one, and that will be an option for them as well. These sites are much easier for the defenders to play into often. That's why, of course, we've seen them picked earlier, and now that they're unlocked against Space Station, is going to bring them back in to try and close out with a 7-3 scoreline.
Well, DarkZero still bringing the gridlock. It seemed to work out pretty well for him so far. Eclipse, he played that quite often on Rogue as well, so he's used to it at this point. The F90 is a fantastic weapon. It's an AUG variant, actually. And overall, it's probably the best gun that she has in her kit. Mix that with some amazing utility for keeping roamers in their place when you clear areas, and you make for an amazing 3-armor operator that's played on offense. We don't see those too often because people really don't like the movement. It's usually the shield operators that we see played that are that speed, but you're not going to see people like Fuse, for instance, very, very often.
So just the setup going by right now. A little bit of reconstruction work being done by a lot of these players. And again, setting up for the capability to use roam presence specifically for Legion here right now inside of Theater. They can play into that. Actually, there's more than Legion. I'm just seeing it now. It's actually about 2 to 3 players here. So it may look like we finally got an active upstairs player on this site, which wouldn't be the first time I think we've ever had that from either team. To my knowledge, we did not see DarkZero ever commit anyone up there and have them stay up there. SSG also didn't do this on the route they won before. They kept the Vigil closer to the stairs and just had him in a rotate position more than anything.
Oh, Sky's moving very quickly with the drone behind him. It seems that DarkZero's thrown the playbook out the window. It's time for aggression. It's time for bullets to fly, and specifically into the buttocks of Skies as he's downed inside of Sunrise. And that's going to be a huge pick because Skies has been very influential over these rounds so far. Has had a lot of opening frags on this Ash, but this time around he's going to either be dead or only have 20 HP when picked up. And it's going to be the 20 HP. I don't know where exactly he got ripped from, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out as well, because he kind of got stopped at those crossroads at the bottom of Full Vibe, and then...
It could have been Fultz all the way from lobby, but...
We saw him through, like, courtyard or something.
Yeah, it was a very, very weird angle that he got shot from. As you guys saw, Skies really didn't know what happened either, so... He's just kind of got shot. Yeah, I believe it was courtyard just from the angle, but they're going to knock down a door now, and then they still have plenty of utility, still have 1 logic bomb on hand. DarkZero, not very much map presence, though. They're working their way from the west to the east. They have both of the bars, but Hyper...
What?
Hyper... Hey, that's your teammate, buddy. I don't know if you know that.
That had to be some really unfortunate timing.
Yeah, that...
Because to be fair,
no.
Skies was already one-shottable, so
yeah,
it's very likely that someone just ran in front of someone else's spray.
Very unfortunate to shoot him with an AK there. Oh, and Fultz is going to cook hot and cold. Eclipse takes down Fultz. Nice little trade out there, but they're going to need a lot more done in order to take over this round, because you still have all the utility to fight through for Rampy. The longer he stays alive, the more dangerous he is. Thinking Nade with 1. Smoke grenades now pour out the window to make it safe for Thinking Nade to try and rotate back in, but he'll just hop back up on top of the sink. Hyper's inside of the site. He takes down 1. Can he take down 2? That would have been huge, but Thinking Nade trades out Hyper, and oh no, it's all down to Eclipse. The F590 in hand and a lot of shotguns to try and fight through, specifically Thinking Nade. Again, we've talked about it before. This M590 can either sell your soul or make you look like a hero. And it seems that it's not going to work out for him this time. Canadian with a trade, and that's going to be map 1 for Spacestation Gaming.
Despite that little blunder at the end, Thinking Nade with a pretty huge hold inside of the bathroom there on that round is able to dodge the phone call with a good mute jammer position, stands on top of that and avoids it. Opponents think the room's clear. They run right in, give him a kill, and he's able to hold it for 1 more as well. Great stuff from him. Great stuff from Spacestation overall as they take control of map number 1 of this series.
That was DarkZero's pick as well, and it looks to be across the board that did not have the best time, but Thinking Nade definitely did. That's going to be 11 kills for that man in regulation. 10 rounds, 11 kills. So averaging over 1 kill a round, that's fantastic play.
Great statistics coming out from him, and this is on top of the great utility play we also get from him often in these rounds as well. So a huge contribution to the team. Often one of the most, in my opinion, understated players on this roster in terms of his impact to the overall package.
And the only remaining roster of that most wanted roster that he came in with. So very impressive overall that he's been able to stick around with, well, the same team per se, but always nice to see that the remnants are still there.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back in a little bit with the second map, but for now, it's going to go back over to our analyst desk to break things down.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen. It has been an already hot start as Spacestation Gaming certainly took things to space as DarkZero found themselves in a rough situation. Of course, we can see some highlights here. And gentlemen, of course, Rams and Villla, my 2 analysts here with me. It was quite the rocky start, map number 1 for DarkZero.
Yeah, DarkZero, like Rams kept saying throughout the entirety of the map, they looked like a shell of themselves. They looked frustrated. We saw a few role swaps. But most importantly, we know what Skies does now. Skies started off on smoke. Once we saw him get a little more loose on the roam game with Amazi and Jaeger, that's when his personality as a top fragger really showed out. But Spacestation on entry was unstoppable.
Yeah, Spacestation on entry right now just looked like a well-oiled machine. They haven't changed much of anything. Fultz on the Ash is a little bit different, but that's because Canadian's playing that more supportive role. Obviously, we didn't see any hard breaches on either sides of the attacks, but that's mainly because Coastline is a standout map when it comes to operator selection. You don't need a hard breach on Coastline, but we still saw Canadian holding the diffuser. We still saw Canadian picking Capitao after a few rounds of Sledge not really working out, and DarkZero really struggling.
Yeah.
We posed the question at the beginning, how was Skies and Eclipses coming into this going to be able to operate or select? It was a big question mark that you had for this, Villla. We saw Skies all over the place, and while that versatility is usually a bonus when you have your players that have these wide operator pools, the difficulties that they had as far as coordination showcased it. It's not always what you can play, it's what you can do with your team.
And Spacestation Gaming, they look like the team that I expected DarkZero to be. In regards to strategy, especially that one kill that Blue pointed out, fantastic casting, by the way. The fact that Thinkinade was on a mute jammer while they're trying to utilize Dokubi's logic bombs as well, he's able to come out, catch people by surprise, get a few kills to SMG, and walk away with the win.
Yeah, DarkZero just kind of not really crossing their T's, dotting their I's on a lot of their attacks. We did see a little bit more of it later in the game as the match progressed. We did see DarkZero formulating more strategies, taking their time, slowing down, realizing they're moving a little bit too fast, and actually being able to win a few rounds with good utility and good positioning. But overall, they look like a shell of their former selves.
That was some of the best entry I've seen from Spacestation since I've been watching them. The fact that they had Fultz and Thinkinade as entry fraggers with 2 drones ahead of them. Thinkinade got a kill just about every single round in the first half.
Thinkinade finished that map 1 with a 1.34 rating. 11-6 was the stat line, already showcasing the skills that he brings to the table. And when you think about those skills, it's where those skills were being played. A question mark that you posed coming into this, Rams, is why Coastline? Why is that the direction that we want to go? It wasn't something that DarkZero necessarily preferred. You then followed that up with, okay, maybe the fact that they've had roster changes should potentially change the result with over 20+ bans in the last few months on that map. Things still seem to be the same. They can't perform on Coastline.
Yeah, Coastline is just the more organized team usually wins. Like, yeah, people like to describe it as a drone in and just a big frag fest when it comes to the map as a whole. But it, really, the more organized team should win. And the thing that I noticed the most about DarkZero and the way that they were trying to defend, they never contested Spacestation's direct entry into the building. On a map like Coastline, you have to quickly communicate where the attack is coming from and what angles they could be holding, and they should know at this professional level where the rotations are cut off from, and they have to be able to just contest the entry to waste time, because if you don't contest the entry into the actual building itself, the attack has so much time to work with.
Yeah, it was so tiring watching SSG drone themselves in over the Sunrise Bar and get kill after kill, round after round. But also that aggression, we're going to have to give credit to Bosco. Bosco being able to isolate players with Dokubi and the Logic Bomb down underneath the aquarium in office was just phenomenal.
Well, of course, the members of DarkZero haven't had a lot of time necessarily to get to know them. And you know what? We haven't either. So let's go ahead and take a deeper look at DarkZero and the roster they're bringing to the USN.
We are DarkZero. This is Hot and Cold, Hyper, Eclipse, Skies, and I'm Min. Playing for the title USA, being the national champions would mean everything to us. We already feel like we're one of the best North American teams, and we want to definitely be like the best North American team. Our biggest rival is SSG. It's our first matchup, and for some reason, every single time we play those guys, we usually end up tying, or it comes down to an extremely close match. I'm not even sure what our record is against them, but yeah, definitely SSG. And we are enjoying our time in Vegas. The weather is actually pretty nice compared to Houston. We kind of like the dry air, cold nights, a lot of things to do. It's a great time. Do we have any tactics or strategies planned for this event? Pretty much the only amount of time we had with the new players, we pretty much just spent like getting them accustomed to our playbook and our style of play. But there's a couple things up our sleeve though. I think the most important aspect to be successful at the top level of Siege is communication. A lot of teams have the gun skill to compete at the top level, but I think like they lack team play and coordination and communication and all that, and that's like one of the biggest things that we stress with our gameplay.
DarkZero has a lot of hopes and dreams coming into Las Vegas this weekend, but they're going to have to make something happen as they find themselves down a map and one map away from going into elimination. Game number 2 is going to be heading us, we're going over to Villla. So it's going to be back over to the beautiful voices that you guys have been hearing. Stokes, Blue, gentlemen, it's all you.
Thank you very much, and it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to jump into our second map of the series. We are going to Villla. Another interesting choice here for DarkZero. As you can see, 21 bans, 0 times played. That's all gonna change right here, right now.
And what a time to do it. Let's do it at LAN. Let's, have some fun with it. Why not? So, Villla, actually, the second most banned map by SSG. It's actually tied with Consulate, which, if we do go, will be our decider. As for the opponent, though, DarkZero, it's tied for their first most banned map. So did they just try and rewrite the whole script coming into USN? Or I really want to see what else is in store for us here, because if DarkZero plays Villla like they played Coastline, you kind of got to blame it on the bans, just a little bit, just a tiny bit.
It's been very interesting between these two teams, to say the least. It definitely seems like DarkZero is trying to change quite a few things up with these new players being slotted into the roster. As far as the bans are concerned, we get these same exact attacker bans on the last map. Obviously, the Jackal one is pretty straightforward there, but the Nomad one is a bit interesting for Villla. It makes sense, though. This is still a map where we see quite a bit of roaming presence, and the attackers usually need some way to counter that out. So getting rid of Nomad is one way to eliminate that possibility.
All right, well, pretty traditional bans, Jackal, Nomad, mirroring what we saw on Coastline. Those two operators great at dealing with roamers, one for roam clearing, one for roam denial when people try and flank, and that's why we saw Gridlock the last time. But we're going to have a little bit of different bans on the defensive side of things. Instead of having the Valkyrie, we're going to have the Mira removed. Mira, extremely powerful on Villla. There's a lot of setups that you can pull off with her. Not really on the Aviator bar side of things, or Aviator games, excuse me. Just because that soft wall setup, looking into study, not the best thing when you're playing against good teams. They'll just rip the soft walls down, and then you really can't rotate anywhere, and you're probably going to die. So you don't want to do that. But on the other side, Mira worked out extremely well. So SSG going to be in the offense to start things off once again.
Setup should be pretty straightforward here as these sites are concerned. And actually, no, we are going to be downstairs, I just realized as well. So we've been seeing this going to be more and more common over the last few months with LATAM teams, I think, being the first to be more comfortable going to this site more openly, and then it's kind of spread to the other regions. So we're going to end up down here to start things off.
Kitchen's a pretty strong site. You have to have a lot of presence towards that laundry room area, though. You guys see in your center screen over towards the right where the reinforcement was before we flipped up. But you guys know what I'm talking about. So laundry room is going to be the main area that's attacked to try and get people in through and towards the site because it's direct entrance. So you walk in, if you can take control of that, get the laundry wall open, then you have pressure all around that dining area. But if you're able to shut it down, then you're probably going to have a pretty good time. Only thing that you have to fight for over that is going to be that vertical pressure. You have to make sure that you can't get the sledge, you can't get the bug, all the regular soft breach operators upstairs to have all of that presence, because this is another one of those sites that you can chop up every single rotation in between the two sites, all through vertical play.
That explains also as well, given the fact that why we see operators like Nomad being banned out, just to isolate that possibility for the attackers slightly more. So we are going to start to see a bit of aggression get thrown in here by SSG. It's all pretty passive for the time being as they have to figure out exactly what they're doing, because I imagine they go into some of these rounds expecting it to be an upstairs play, not necessarily a downstairs play. So some of their opening play needs to be shifted a bit, and I imagine comms and, well, most importantly, droning becomes a bit of a part of that.
Blue, we both talked about how DarkZero did not hold vertical pressure in the last map. This time around, they're actually doing it. There's 3 people upstairs, only 2 on site, and they have Houghton on Pulse as well. So that's going to be a lot of information for these roamers, and it's going to make it seem like every single time that SSG takes a gunfight, somebody has a lock on them because of that. They don't know that the man's downstairs. The logic bomb does not affect the cardiac sensor, so he just gets to read out all of them and possibly get a nitro cell. As he goes to blow, it doesn't do any damage at all, sadly, but an A for effort.
So nothing gonna be marked just yet by our defensive squad as they try to pick off some of this upstairs pressure. Time's gonna continue to tick down regardless here, down to 1 minute and 20 seconds left for Space Station to try and make something happen here. At the moment, it's all been falling flat. Not been able to pick up much, and even worse now, Sky is getting aggressive towards one of the outer windows. He's able to find Canadian, taking him down and giving DarkZero the opening advantage at just 1 minute as the first kill.
Yes, guys, with a very nice rotation over to Art Studio to get that shot outside. And that's the one thing about Villla. There's so many windows, so many doors that you have to be aware of. And the one time you don't look is the one time that somebody's standing there waiting to put a bullet in your head. SSG is going to fall to that, and specifically Canadian. That's the only hard breacher as well. So this is going to have to be a lot of soft destruction and a lot of picks early on in order to establish some sort of presence. Thinking they're going to be the first one to peek. I believe a frag grenade pouring in from Bosco. No, it's going to be smokes instead as the toxic bag goes off as well. Bosco taking any damage? No, he's not. So he's going to be able to plant in behind the smoke grenade. Re-ups the smoke. Each one of those lasts for 10 seconds, but he's getting read out from hot and cold. Somebody's going to have to do something about this. Otherwise, his diffuser's going down. It will be successful, and he will get out, actually. Not for the sake of Rampy dying upstairs, but here's the issue now. Thinking Nade rotates over to the bottom of red. They have to make sure that no one can rotate out. It's a 2v5. Bosco quickly shut down. It's a 1v5 post plant now. Thinking Nade has to try and find something. Cardiac sensor in hand. Can he take them both down? What a shot from Mintz after he gets up off the diffuser. And it's going to remain 4 alive. Well, granted, 1 alive if you really look at the health. Everyone else really on their last limb.
To be fair, impressive that they get the defuse down in the first place, given those smoke grenades being chucked all over the place. It's a miracle that that second one doesn't end up imploding directly on top of them and doing some massive damage. So we are going to end up seeing quite a bit of success being found here by DarkZero on the opening round downstairs in the kitchen. So now they'll shift to the other 2 upstairs sites. More than likely that 4th site, living room, will be avoided entirely. So they'll go to Aviator and Games as their second run-up.
Well, DarkZero bringing the Legion this time around, and so far on Villla, it seems like they got a lock on how they want to try and play things out. A little bit more aggro, and that's something that we expected. I mean, specifically, I expected with Skies. I thought when Skies came over to DarkZero, especially with Eclipse, that we'd see a lot more freeballing, a lot more aggressive plays, you know, those things that surprise you. We saw that from Skies in the last round where he rotated all the way over to Art Studio. No one even had any info on him, gets a free pick, and really sets up DarkZero for success in round 1. But now it's Space Station to fire back, as they will be on a more traditional site, Aviator Games, which is a site that either make or break you on this map.
So let's see if DarkZero will be able to make a bit of a lead for themselves as well here, or if it's going to be an immediate strike back. The play and the tail of the tape here for the attackers on SSG is going to be a bit more straightforward this time too, depending on the route that they want to take. I'm sure that, again, the first minute or so is going to see minimal action inside of the building and primarily just drone work being done. As SSG is going to have to decide, do they push towards the study direction with a little bit of pressure coming in from main stairs in the 90 hallway, or do they commit more heavily to the backside over towards the other site here upstairs?
DarkZero going to be on a horizontal hold, and what that means is they're going to hold one entire floor, and they're going to hold that top floor. You guys can see them dedicating utility over to statuary with reinforcements, having Eclipse play near the top of red stairs because Legion gets goo mines over time, so we can continue to allocate those places if they don't rotate there quickly enough. As well as mixing that in with an Ella and a Clash. They have so much denial right now, off-site, as opposed to having the smoke there as well. So overall, DarkZero's trying to slow people down, and sadly, that's not going to be the start that they wanted.
So about a minute gone by, and once again, as you said, DarkZero losing their Jaeger within the opening few seconds. Skies trying to get aggressive once again. Found success with it in the first round, but this time won't be the case, so he falters early. Not only that, but as you can see here, a lot of room being given to the attacking squad now to start moving in over here towards the statuary side. Just on top of those astronomy steps, we're going to put the Claymore down, hopefully prevent anyone from running back against them later on here. Fultz is now going to move forward. He actually does end up running into an Ella mine there real quick, but as far as I can tell, no other enemy presence is nearby, so we should be safe after a few seconds.
If you're going to have to walk into one, you might as well have Zofia do it. She does have that sister rivalry thing, and for the people that are at home and are wondering, Stokes, what the hell are you talking about? Sister rivalry in this game is between Ella and Zofia, because if you didn't know, they're both Polish, and they're both sisters. And they have a sister rivalry perk that makes it to where their concussions do less effect to each other. And you also get more points for killing your sister, so that's a thing as well, in case you were wondering, because you know they had to throw a +10 in there for shooting your sister in the head. Why not?
So we've got Foltz finally committing towards the 90 angle a bit more here. However, the problem is going to be, as soon as he peeks around the corner, he's going to realize this is not as easy of an angle and easy of a fight to take as he might have been expecting. However, seems he might have already run into that actually, as he's found that pick against Hyper. It's a good trade too. Gives them the man advantage back from the player that they had just lost a few seconds ago. Canadian now ready to move in, but there is a clash. They used this in the last map as well, and they're going to bring it in once again on one of the more difficult sites. One of the more commonly attacker ones. So 45 seconds remaining. Here comes the execute. It's coming in soon here from Space Station because they have no time left.
Spacestation Gaming does have control of 90 as well. DarkZero shifted their way over to Study to try and hold that down, kind of shift the backbone of the site. But the issue is now, though, with that 90 pressure, they can't rotate towards the west of that hallway. Otherwise, they're going to get shot up. One gets down. It's going to be Eclipse taking down Canadian. That's Diffuser as well. That's a huge pick. Volt's rotating in, takes down one. Can he take down the second? He can. Oh, it's a triple for Volt's on the round. It's down to Hot and Cold. M590 in hand, sees one. He misses his shots, and Volt's with a quad on the round. I'm telling you, man, this kid has got some skill. It is ridiculous.
It's another crazy late round rebound that comes in once again as well from SSG. The clash play looking like it was going to be a solid hold from DarkZero, and something that Space Station honestly might have missed in the early round that would have cost them greatly. But once again, a last second turnaround here puts it back under their control, and Kaz is tied at 1-1.
And I just want to put Foltz on a pedestal once again for just a second, because that was truly a one-man army round for him. Granted, he did get information from his teammates. You guys saw the calls for him moving up through 90, getting the call into the clash, opening up the main stairs, what have you. But he still had to do that properly. And the way that he played up against that smoke as well, you know, making some distance in between him and the man with the shotgun, very intelligent play from Foltz overall. And I just want to really highlight that gunfight with Hyper from that range, baiting him with the utility, and right when he knows Hyper's going to pre-fire the shield, gets the kill. Just overall, fantastic play from Foltz, and he's at the top of the leaderboard right now. Now you guys can definitely tell why they shifted him over to that Ashe/Zofia play.
It's going to be on a solid 2 KPR right now. To be fair, early days in the game with only 2 rounds actually being finished, but impressive nonetheless, especially if he can keep that going further and further into the game. Setup is going to be, once again, pretty much the same for DarkZero this time around.
10 seconds to
the operators brought to the table are essentially going to be similar, are going to be relatively similar as well here. Still have the issues that are going to pop up from the clash and trying to push into Aviator games on top of things such as goo mines, Ella grenades, or Ella mines, along with those smoke grenades too.
Gershmots.
Yeah, the Gershmots.
The Gershmots.
We do not have an IQ to deal with that either, so.
Yeah, the crappy thing about that, though, is when you're IQ, you kind of just get to stare at it. You're like, okay, well, this thing's here. I either walk into it and get shot, or we try and twitch drone it or something along those lines. Because 90% of the time, they're on a hard wall. So you really can't just, like, shoot it through. It's, crap. Can't really deal with it unless I go underneath.
Not going to work too well.
Yeah, not going to work out too well. Hopefully Bosco can stay alive a little bit longer this time. He used both of those logic bombs. He's been having an impressive showing so far. We actually saw him with a couple of 2Ks in the last map with that C75 auto, which is something pretty difficult to do because it's extremely hard to track people with that iron sight.
He's going to be looking for entry capability, but yeah, nothing being found here.
Oh no! The EMP actually eats one of the toxic bays from Houghton as he tosses another one. They're going for a main stairs hold here, but it's going to be all on the back. The man playing main stairs here, which is going to be Hyper. It's the Ella. I'm going to assume he's waiting for the Gershmont to go off, which is why Rampy's coming up close to get rid of the first one. Concussions now pour in, but quite a bit of damage will be done to Foltz as he risks it all to try and take control of main stairs. Overall, though, this hold for DarkZero is working out, and it's going to be Houghton through the floor. That's an angle you don't see too often that you can make by the bar. Hyper to tack on to Bosco, and they're shutting down this Study take. Hyper's actually been down on the main stairs, though, as the first set of X-Kairos will go off.
They are going to be able to kind of, with brute force, really, just take control of Study. 3 players pushing at once. It does push the clash back. They've also, importantly, got another player down at the bottom of main stairs. That's going to be Hyper being eliminated. They've brought it down to a 3v4. One final wall going to be popped open, I believe, here by the Hibana. 2 more, excuse me. We're going to see 1 eliminated leading into games, 1 eliminated leading into aviation to give them as much POV to play off of as possible here. Both go off without a hitch. That's going to give them the angles they need to play into. A minute remaining as well. Space Station, as we have often seen throughout this series, are no slouches with using the full breadth of that timer and running it all the way down, if not exactly on 0, to try and close out the round there. They're doing that once again. Drone presence working its way in. They're now taking up pretty good positions to make this execute happen. No one is facing them, though. No one from DZ taking these fights. Thinking they're going to be pushed back. Canadian has better luck, though. He finds an opener. Oh, nicely done with the clash play. Uses it to get hot and cold up close and personal against Thinking Nate to take him out. And everything falls to Fultz and Canadian to pick up the win here. They try to make a push from the clash, but instead, Hot and Cold and Eclipse both pick up corresponding kills, and DarkZero shut it down yet again.
That 90 haul is so very important. If you guys saw it at the top of your screen when we were in the third-person view, you saw Skies rotating for that to try and shut down the angles towards the long end of the hallway. He ended up getting fragged out by Canadian, which obviously made them try and put a diffuser down, but it got immediately retaken once they got that kill towards main stairs because you could shut down all of the rotates from that area. It's the entire backbone of aviation in games is that 90 hallway. Once you have control of that, you can really do anything, and it's very easy to shut down an offensive unit that way. DarkZero playing it to a T, even though it did get scary there for a couple of seconds.
Spacestation coming very close again, like I've been mentioning, that very analytical style of play nearly allows them to pick up a win, but DarkZero with a stronger hold this time. Finally able to get the better of Spacestation on one of those, and most importantly, keep the lead going for this defensive side at 2-1. It's been 2 rounds, so they're actually not even going to have to go to Statuary. They're going to skip that for the time being and head back down into the kitchen. Try this site once again.
This kitchen setup is very creative. I like what they're doing. I like the way that they're dedicating utility upstairs. It's something that I always harp on, as you know, that when you have a roam game, you got to dedicate utility to it. Otherwise, you're just putting people dead in the water, and they're going to get shot through some sort of soft destruction. This is Pro League. You're playing against players that are good at the game. They're going to get information on you. You're going to die from an angle that you don't even know exists. So dedicating utility to your roam game helps out in that aspect, making sure that you guys isolate where you're playing, whether it be through soft walls, through soft barricades, castle barricades, reinforcement, barbed wire, what have you. That can all help to make it to where your roam game is successful as opposed to just being dispatched very quickly.
We're going to start to see SSG players take up positions to start gaining a little bit of inner map control here. Still primarily focused on droning this early on in the round, though, as we have seen from the past ones too. We're going to be able to see, again, the presence from DZ is pretty much non-existent on this half of the map. It's not until they get over towards those statuary rooms that things are going to get a little bit more crowded. A few more blue players are going to show up here from DarkZero's side to stop the push. Nearly 2 minutes here now, and things have remained relatively the same, with Spacestation seemingly starting to get into position for more of a direct push, going right into the site from the outside, instead of trying to mess around with an interplay.
All right, well, Fultz and the rest of the SSG on roam clear now, as everything has been soft barricaded, as you can see. And I know that it honestly does look like, okay, yeah, I'm playing a copper game, like everything's barricaded, right? But the beauty of the barricades, especially like from regular play in game, is it's a sound cue. They have to try and punch it in order to make a sound, and now you know where they are. It's something that I don't see utilized that often from a lot of teams unless they're near the top echelon of Siege. Start using those soft barricades. They're actually extremely useful in a lot of instances, especially on roam game, when they have to risk it all to try and punch the door. You're like, okay, I now know you're at Deer, or I now know you're somewhere else. NitroCell sails off. Hot and Cold cannot get that off the ceiling, but he can definitely get shot through it. NitroCell goes off to no avail. A little bit of damage to Bosco, but that seems to be from outside.
Minute remaining, time going to start to get lower here. Fultz trying to give his team purview, and they do actually catch Hot and Cold. That's the pulse going down when they tried to knock out earlier. Spacestation with a 5v4 advantage. Now it's time to move, as they're sub 1 minute here now, and they've just barely started to put players into the building. Bosco going to wait and see if anyone tries to peek from his window hop in here. Fultz, in the meantime, moving out potentially to join him. A re-enter from a different angle. There's that peek that Bosco was looking for. Not going to be able to find the kill on it, though. Just brings Mint down to under 25 HP.
Well, Skies takes down Fultz, and that's a big pick. The man's been on fire so far throughout Villla. Skies going long again, but it gets red, telestrated by Bosco, and a quick kill. And all of a sudden, DarkZero's on their heels. Utility now being sent into the site to try and get a diffuser down. Diffuser's going to be in Canadian's hands, as it traditionally is for SSG. Canadian with a quick dash over towards the bomb chassis, the safest area you can possibly be. Oh no, one frag, but can they find Canadian? Hyper to die as he gets traded out. Oh no. no, SSG with a quick run through.
Back into the driver's seat with a win here on Kitchen. Looked like we were starting to see the gameplay change up a little bit with DarkZero's success being found.
That was a very weird kill cam there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually DarkZero's win, by the way. Apologies for that. I got confused because the kill cam, even though it was on the DarkZero player, said Canadian SSG because they traded.
Oh, yeah, that is weird.
That was very weird.
See, I thought the same thing, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, just ignore us for now.
This doggone
And I mean, again,
spectating system.
credit to DZ here. They're gonna play pretty much the full breadth of these sites. Statuary, one that is played by pretty much universally every team in this game, at the moment has yet to be picked up, and they're gonna go to living room now. So DZ, some interesting decisions being made today.
Yeah, living room is usually the site that you never see. It's one that I can tell you I've only casted about twice, honestly, like ever. And the main one that it was in was LATAM. I believe it was Liquid on one of the last play days that we ended up commentating because Parker was sick. So with that being said, we're going to have DarkZero playing it. This will be the first time I've seen them play this in recent history. And it seems that they're bringing, relatively speaking, the same operator lineup, all except for the Bandit, which Hyper will be playing. So I'm actually very interested to see where they're going to put these Bandit batteries. What is of the most importance to them on this site? Hyper's rotated upstairs, and he's actually barricading games right now, as well as making a couple punch holes, Swiss cheesing the wall, making it to where, well, if you do peek the room, you have about 75 choices.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse
This will be an interesting task for specifically Spacestation to figure out, but I am curious to see the success or failure of DarkZero's defense here too. This is
Yeah, there's a lot of angles being made.
a lot.
Yeah. So it seems like they're setting up a bunker setup upstairs to try and hold down angles to help with sight. So somebody's going to be playing inside of Gun Vault so that if somebody does rotate through like the landing area inside of living room, I wanted to say laundry there, but living room, then oh my gosh, the amount of drones.
It's a whole army.
Quick read through, he's actually shooting fulls, flicks over, but does not find anything on to Mint. But if somebody does get found in living room, obviously they're going to die to the holes upstairs. They have forgotten one wall, or didn't think that wall was the most important. Smoke grenades now going down from Bosco, but it seems like they might be falling into DarkZero's trap now as they begin to rotate up main stairs.
They do seem to have some idea about what is set up here. Unfortunately, they may not have an idea as to just how much presence is actually here. Thinking Nate seems to have been holding this angle for at least a few seconds now, waiting for his opponents to get into position. And in the meantime, we're going to see everything being committed to allow them to try and push in upstairs into Aviation and Games.
Oh.
Thinking Nate gets the first kill. A good amount of damage being traded out, bringing him just over half, but not enough to confirm the trade. That is going to be Rampy. That actually finds the next pickup against Hyper, as his upstairs hold is being cleared. Not really any issue at the moment from Spacestation.
SSG is doing such a damn good job of holding down their flanks, man. Every single time that they set up a room, there's always somebody waiting for someone to rotate in behind. And that's going to be Rampy this time. Very pivotal area to play. Main stairs holding down the long hallway of 90. Catches Hyper on rotation, and that's a big deal. Now you have all of the top presence as well as all of the holes that are already made for you. You know, so with that control now, Spacestation Gaming, or excuse me, DarkZero, has to worry about all of those areas that they made those vertical holes through, because obviously you can get shot through them.
Flash not necessarily in the greatest position to try and actually stop this execute from happening either at the moment. Is going to become a problem in the next few seconds here. First attempt to pop, they're actually going to plant early while that's still blowing up. This should work out pretty well. Let's see an attempt to interrupt it, and even better, Bosco caught the only one that spotted it. So, clean plant, Hot and Cold also killed in the process, down to 2. Great hold from Skies. He's been probably the most consistent player in just pure 1v1 gun duels this game. Another one found from Skies, in fact, as he's going to be able to bring the numbers down to a 2v3. We need to see this clash get into the fight too, and that is not an easy thing to ask for. Gumine on the rotate, but unfortunately dies at the peak. The clash looking for the trade, but Bosco almost accidentally getting that second kill with the way the recoil works out, and Spacestation pick up yet another round.
It's going to be a triple for Bosco on the round once again. And as you guys can see, SSG has gotten so good at these quick executes towards site to get a diffuser down. They show presence upstairs, they get both of the kills, and they go, okay, no one's up here to try and stop us anymore. This wall's soft. Let's just blow some X-Kairos on the other side, a little bit of distraction. Bosco, hold down the door, you still have utility. Burn Vault, make it to where they can't rotate through and hold the angle. And it works out for them because there is not a single bit of utility on the defense to try and stop them. No Evil Eyes, no nothing. And DarkZero really just left home alone, to be completely honest. They need to try and get some more denial in there. I like how they tried to slow things down with that upstairs hold, but once things got set up for Study, they just did a little bit of over peeking. We saw the Jaeger swing the door into Study, and Eclipse get immediately melted. Hyper tries to pick up the pieces, but gets immediately fragged out from main stairs. So it just seems like it's really not in the cards for DarkZero right now on these extended holds.
We need to start seeing that change, though. We're coming to the final moment of their defensive half. Things are going to switch over to attack after this round. Well, we could be looking at another 4-2 if SSG is able to hold their attack and pick up number 4 here before the end of it. That'll be very, very dangerous on Villla with them switching over to defense. It's going to be quite a bit that they'll have to work with, and we could just be looking at the cleanup like we saw on Coastline as well. And something similar to that just happened.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
Jumping into round 6 now is DarkZero. Could possibly split 3-3 once again, as we saw the last game on Coastline until Spacestation just completely took over and didn't seem like DarkZero had a will or a way in order to fight back. SSG moving Rampy on over to Twitch, and this is something that we've seen him on quite often. We usually see him on the Buck as well, but no Buck going to be picked up for SSG in this round. So going to have Fultz on the Zofia, who's been proving quite prominent so far throughout this series. Canadian still on the Habana as well. So only one hard destructor as they begin their clear from Master across. Last time we saw quite a bit of utility dedicated across from DarkZero, and that long hold actually worked out for them as opposed to the last two that really have not. Fultz already inside a bathroom. More information game pouring in for Spacestation now.
Both teams at the moment just trying to play for intel more than anything else, specifically Spacestation. Fultz is going to be lining up Claymores again to watch out, prevent that rotate from coming back up through Astro stairs. The rest of the team a little bit split up from Fultz right now, kind of off on his own here. He's going to be positioned very well as well. So if anybody goes down, they can watch that and get early intel on that rotate should the Claymore be dealt with.
Yeah, very intelligent drone. I saw that for the first time, I believe it wasn't at Raleigh. I believe it was in Japan by Laxing, actually. I saw him use that camera. Very smart camera setup, very difficult to see unless obviously you're playing with Bloom on, which makes cameras a little bit easier to see because it makes that light shiny instead. Also, make sure if you guys do have any of our amazing esports charms on your gun, that you guys have Bloom on in your graphic settings because it gives them that beautiful shine like Canadian has on his gun with his SSG charm. So there you go. I fixed your setting for you in mid-cast.
Canadian ready to move in on the site here now as he's going to start lining up some of those X-Kairos charges for the team to move in. First one might have gotten dealt with by a trick, so we'll see if these next two are going to be any more successful or if they will also be stopped. We hear at least one explosion going out there, so it is going to give him some room to work with, but a kill is found by Eclipse here, knocking out Canadian as he attempts to actually commit himself onto the inside of Study.
Fultz already having 90 control, could take down Eclipse, but it's going to be Bosco to deal with him down to the 4v4. Rampy looking for any goon mines on the ground, but it's going to be thinking nade to continue to tack on. He's going for the shot. He lights him up, but no, actually none of the bullets making any contact with Hot and Cold. Fultz rotates in now, takes down Hot and down to the 4v2. Skies and Mint, the only two remain. Skies finally firing back. Fultz gets traded out immediately. Mint 1 versus 2. Diffuser now going down with smokes from Bosco's tactical crossbow. Mint moves up. Smoke gets dissipated. He takes down one. Can he get the second flick? No, he can't. SSG with an immediate trade, and these guys are just playing so coordinated right now. I don't know if DarkZero can even stop it.
So close, however, for DarkZero. An attempt being made, and you can see their Fultz actually nearly shutting down those last two players. It didn't catch the fact that both of them were literally right next to each other. So he goes down, and we nearly see that clutch come in from DarkZero's final player. We do end up with that 4-2, however, as a result of the win from SSG in that final round. And now they have a massive lead going on to their defensive side of Villla. Especially if things start out well with a win here on Aviation, they could be looking at a very clean sweep, right up to 7 and a 2-0 on the series.
On Coastline, we thought it was going to be a lot closer, especially going into the split, but Villla is defensive-sided. And right now, the defense has 2 more rounds than the offense does. That is not a good look. This is one of the most complicated maps inside of the map pool. You can set it up so many different ways and handle things so many different ways, as we saw DarkZero try to do. They went to both of the sites that we don't see traditionally played, kitchen as well as living room. And kitchen worked out very well. Living room, not so much. It seemed that SSG knew exactly what to do once they saw that that wall was soft. And for the people that, tried to sit there and set that up, you might want to go back and reassessate where you want to put some of those reinforcements, or think back through where you want to put a couple of those, because it seems like that wall is definitely a detriment to that setup.
Yeah, from a strategical perspective, SSG has absolutely been winning this series by a pretty big margin here. You have to respect DZ for some of the things that they've been trying, but that's the key thing. They've been trying a lot, just a lot of it hasn't been working. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board on some of this, or look into why specifically the things they were trying to do were failing into this game.
Reloading!
Before we get too deep into this, can we see the scoreboard real quick? I'd really appreciate that if we could. Thank you, sir. So at the split, we actually have Fultz with 8 kills walking into that. Overall, a great showing from SSG, and you got to tip a little bit of the cap to Canadian on this one. I mean, the guy's been playing pretty lights out, getting diffusers down, playing hard destruction. He's playing it all. Again, he's on Jaeger right now. He's always been that flex guy. No matter what, he's going to play the thing that he thinks is the most important to the round to try and bring his team to victory. And it seems that, well, Canadian might be back, folks.
At least by this match. We still have to wait and see how tomorrow and Sunday go as well.
Can we go on a trip in our favorite rocket ship, zooming through the sky?
Not there yet, hold on.
To beat all the nice guys. See, I could do this all day, man.
Here we go. Sing that one.
Oh no. I'm not going to sing again. They hated when I did that early. Oh, man. All right, well, DarkZero, same song, same dance that we saw from SSG, focusing their sights onto 90 control, and the exact same operator as well. It's going to be Zofia. She's got the M7, which is an AK variant with an ACOG. That long hallway makes those gunfights a little bit easier.
Down to about half the time remaining in the round here for DarkZero, and it's been incredibly quiet so far. Not a single tick of damage taken by any member of either team at the moment. Primarily just drone work being picked up. Houghton is in position on top of the red stairs to try and make a play, and this is coming off of the control that Zofia had a few seconds before as well. Hyper going down 90. So a lot to work with moving in from the top of red stairs, and at least the top half of 90. That's a nice shot from Eclipse.
That was a one-tap as well.
As he's able to find Thinking Nade and knocking out the Maestro. We won't have those Evil Eyes be able to be used later on in the round. Thankfully, that's not a massive loss, assuming that the cameras are already set up appropriately. Pretty much already getting their maximum usage out of that one.
Seems that SSG has fallen into the exact same trap that DarkZero did here, where they've started to use Study more as the backbone instead of 90, but as they showed you last time, 90 has a little bit more importance over the site and how things tend to go down. We do have Rampy inside of Study. He's playing the Warden, and that's what Skies is going to have to deal with. But obviously, Skies doesn't have anything that's going to affect Rampy, all except for Logic Bombs, which will be coming in from the Dokkaebi of Eclipse. A quick hop in, and oh, the timing for Rampy. He couldn't hear it because of that Logic Bomb. Toxic Babes now pour in, but Houghton's on the other end as Bosco actually ends up trading it out. Canadian as well, and Fultz to tack on. You thought it was a DarkZero round, but no, you'd be mistaken. Skies finally fights fire with fire, knocking down Fultz. It's a 2 versus 2. Logic Bomb still going off, but finally the sound will deafen. Bosco and Canadian as he rotates back in. A quick prone, and it's going to be Skies. Oh no, last seconds, and that's going to be all she wrote. Bosco with a quick teabag. Let the man know. Space Station, it's all domination from here.
That's Bosco's twin, Bosco, coming into the game for just a second there to show off a bit. He's going to roll in there, pick up some very nice frags, and shut down the round for SSG. Yet another one into their court, a 3-round lead now into their favor. As they come into the defensive side with a barnstorming first round. They're just going to carry that right over to Trophy. It's traditional play. You know, it's not the more creative stuff we've been seeing from DarkZero and trying to mess around with the sights a bit more, but here's the key thing right now. What Space Station's doing, it's working.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, we're going to get these chants down over the weekend, all right? I'm just letting you guys know in the crowd. We're going to get them down, okay? I promise you. So, all right, DarkZero 2-5 right now. This is the time to come back. A couple of bleak faces as Mint's trying to roll through things with the team. Almost a very successful round, but as you said, Boss Goat decided to play instead of Bosco, and well, we all saw how that went down. Gun Vault happened to be a lot of graves for a lot of people. SSG still on defense, and we're going to have Bosco over on the Jaeger this time around rather than the smoke. Last time pretty successful with the shotgun SMG-11 combo, but the 416C will do just fine for this round, and specifically the 416C, the most damaging gun on the defense per body shot, if you guys didn't know. That's why all those Ash Jaeger mains exist. It's because once you shoot somebody, 2 to 3 times, they're probably going to die.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Truck phase is going to finish up here in just a second. Well, once again,
Attackers objective.
have the players from DarkZero coming out onto the board. There's been so much promise, especially in early and mid-round situations here, but closing out has been such a problem for DZ. We've got a fact coming in. SSG and DZ are actually tied with each other on 8 opening kills. Again, just going back to the theory I was talking about before, but the winner has only been able to convert 65% of the time.
It's all about conversion rates. It's all about the statistics. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Space Station, though, slow going so far, at least on their defensive side. Offensive unit moving extremely slow. Almost a snail's pace at this point. Lots of droning, but it's actually going to pay off as they'll find Pulse downstairs. That's going to be Canadian. We talked a lot about him today, and this is one of his hallmark operators that we see him play quite often. The reasoning for that is because Canadian likes that cardiac sensor utility with that nitro cell combo. The cardiac sensor, especially for an IGL, you can coordinate an entire team around this one operator because he can get all of that information through the flooring with relatively no danger to himself. So he's able to read out literally everyone outside unless he tries to travel up this staircase here where Skies is waiting. But you can read almost everybody outside from the downstairs area with that cardiac sensor. Remember off the top of my head, I believe it's about 12 meters. It's 12 to 15 meters if I can remember properly. But Skies is going to read him out downstairs, knows that Canadian is still playing. But he can't shoot it from floor, obviously, since it is brick.
Half the round long gone here now, and DarkZero starting to gain some control on the inside of Master. Bit messy on the Hibana breaches. I believe part of the X-Kairos were taken out there. As you can see, that top level is actually not going to explode on the left side, but it still gives them, I think, just enough room to do what they need to do with that.
Well, Space Station's been wasting a lot of DarkZero's time so far. They really only have the mid-floor taken down, some X-Kairos to use as well to make sure that he can't rotate up the pantry staircase. Thinking Nate avoiding a stun grenade that pours in his way. Logic Bomb finally comes in from Eclipse, but they have to get some presence on site. They need to move quickly. Another stun grenade comes in now as Mint's taking up the angle. He takes down one off of a pre-fire after Thinking Nate walks in the way. Could have just sat still, but was afraid that I believe, frag grenade was going to kill him. Crawl in from hot and cold now as the diffuser's more than likely about to go down. They've isolated out both of the pathways in between the sites. It's time for Canadian to make some magic happen, but no, it's going to be Bosco as he freely rotates in. Rampy kills him with a nitro cell. Volts, though, to trade it out. Skies and Eclipse to tack on, and it's going to be DarkZero all the way unless Canadian has something to say about it. The diffuser's down inside of Statuary. They're both scared to go. Somebody's going to have to try and man this, though, so it's going to be knocked down to the 1 versus 1. It's the long angle. They know where he is. Nitro cell pours in. Is it going to be on time? No, he doesn't get the angle, and he's going to have to try and team fight too now. Both guns up, Canadian up in hand. His gun, not the best when it comes to gunfighting, though. Some people think that the Pulse is better with it, but no, not this time around. Skies on the long angle with the ACOG and the LMG will finally win it out for DarkZero.
A nice attempt from Canadian, but far too many obstacles in his way, and DarkZero had his number, it seemed, the entire time, as they did predict most of his movements, stopping him from pulling off the success that he was looking to get out of that round. So, finally, another one picked up from DarkZero after a long string of wins from Space Station. Maybe DarkZero can still get back into this game, but Space Station, of course, are not going to take that loss lightly. They will look for the immediate response, as they, too, have a little bit of flair to throw out here onto the downstairs sites. They're going to head into Kitchen for this next round.
Yeah, a little bit of a fun fact for you as well, guys. If you're not too attuned to the Rainbow Six Siege scene, first of all, welcome. Second of all, Bosco actually missed his graduation for this event, if you didn't know.
That's right, I remember that.
He missed his graduation, missed walking across the stage in order to come here and try and be Team USA. Boss Goat is what that man is, and that takes a lot, especially after that dedication to college and everything else, to have to go through all of that education, as well as keeping up with streaming and playing. I mean, that's a lot on one man's plate, so a tip of the cap to him for sure.
Man's committed. So SSG looking to get back into things here now with another win downstairs. What's up?
I got 24 hours on the clock. I might as well use them all, you know?
Seconds remaining.
We're going to see how well things go for DZ. Finally picking up some steam on that last round there. The late round playing out into their favor, which, again, that's been the key thing for DZ here. Early and mid-round, they've been fighting, in my opinion, pretty evenly with SSG. But it's been in pretty much every single round here. Late round is what decides it. Always that plant attempt, the hold against the execute, or the retake.
Well, DarkZero, once again, on the offense. Relatively the same setup that we saw from SSG, honestly, with operator lineup and what have you. Both of these teams really liking the Dokkaebi. And Dokkaebi is an operator that is not utilized too often. You really only see her when the Jackal's gone, to be completely honest. But she's gotten a lot of utility recently. She used to only have smoke grenades and a Claymore, or it was breaching charges. I can't remember. I believe it was the Claymore, but nevertheless, now she has smoke grenades and frag grenades, and that's a big deal because she already has a pretty good secondary, the C75, excuse me, that we see aces quite often pop off with. But once you get that gun down, even though the iron sight's kind of trash, it's still a very good gun. As well as mix that with an EBR and some logic bombs, all of a sudden you have a concoction that's extremely dangerous. Hot and Cold takes down Thinking Nate upstairs, and DarkZero finally lead the pack in a round.
Good entry, and also deals, importantly, with a player on the other side of this wall, too. If that had been a bandit, it would have removed the ability to trick. Thankfully, this time, they're not going to have to worry too much about that possibility. Walls should be open without too much of an issue here following that kill. It's, of course, a bit dangerous that you have the Hibana get it, but progress is progress.
You gotta do what you gotta do. And sadly, the resets aren't like they used to be. If you guys, again, haven't been following very recently, about, well, it's almost been a year at this point, they changed up resets to where when you get down, you only get set to 20 HP instead of 50. It used to be a big thing that people would reset each other through walls and what have you to try and get them more HP once they went down below 50, because that's 2 bullets as opposed to 1. But since it's only 20 now, there's really no point in doing it.
Yep. It's a very niche thing that, like, if someone's like, you know, 2 football fields away from the site, they'll try it just because they're so safe at that point. But most teams, I think we've seen, just avoid it entirely now because it's a massive waste of time.
It is just a massive waste of time at this point.
For like maybe 1 extra bullet you can take in the fight.
I don't think it's 1 extra bullet. I think every gun does over 20 damage, to be completely honest. So you're just kind of, you know, screwed. And speaking of screwed, Canadian is screwed and tattooed, man. Skies takes him down. Quick rotates from SSG, but Skies again with a double kill. He's been finding so many frags with this IQ. Bolts, rotates upstairs, but gets ripped by Eclipse, trying to take a Goomine out of his foot, but the SMG-12 grants wishes, apparently. Hot and Cold finally gets a diffuser down. Rampy has moved all the way to Switzerland as he's downstairs, has a hatch open above him that he's going to have to be worried about. He sees one, but no, it's going to be a quick shot. I believe that was Skies yet again, and it was a flawless round for DZ. Skies hyping up the crowd. It seems like those Xbox ways are getting back to it.
Sky's getting very hyped, and there's a reason to it right now. Again, even going back to Coastline, where things obviously looked pretty dire for their opponents, or excuse me, where things looked pretty dire for DarkZero. Skies was still doing really well. Skies was still picking up multi-frags and was able to really open up opportunities for his team and save them in plenty of other situations too. So Skies has been really important and is really making his mark to join this roster.
It's bewildering what this man can do on both sides of the coin. I mean, he's a support player on defense. We saw him play Smoke a lot on Coastline. Didn't bag him too many kills and didn't have that much of an impact, but he's definitely had success with Smoke before. Now we're on to the offensive side. He's been playing IQ the whole time, finally switching over to Sledge. I mean, to be completely honest, it's been very impressive what he's been able to accomplish inside of these gunfights. These 1v1s just seem to keep going his way.
And that's it. The 1v1 win rate for him has just been off the charts. The average amount of kills he's getting when he does get kills is usually in the multiples. So Skies has been a pivotal piece of the puzzle, especially when it comes to playmaking for the DarkZero roster in this series.
That was a lot of P's. I'm sorry, I had to throw you off for a second. I haven't done it in a while, so it's gonna be a 4 to 5 though between these two. Space Station still in the lead. They're 1 off of match point here, and the most important thing, if you are a DarkZero fan at home, is you want them to try and rack up as many rounds as possible before that match point hits. Specifically, if they can tie things up or even hit it before and try and win this in regulation, that's going to be the route that you want DarkZero to take. These offensive rounds so far have been highlighted by those kills from Skies. So if the rest of the roster starts to warm up, we might have an equal showing here.
Let's see. Space Station looked all but secure in their ability to be able to take control of this just a few rounds ago, but now I'm not so certain that that is going to be the case anymore.
All right, well, DarkZero so far, their clears have been pretty slow. It's been some very weird instances where we saw Hot and Cold with the Hibana rush into Statuary to take down the Bandit, but it did open up a lot of areas for DarkZero to try and take over. SSG, on the other hand, have been playing pretty passive because DarkZero has been tending to waste a lot of time getting to the actual site. This time around, though, it seems that they are picking up pace. Hyper's going to be on the Zofia. This time around, more than likely going to be focused on 90. Quick punch hole into the astronomy room wall there that sees down into the red hallway, as well as a hatch being opened over inside of study. DarkZero's been doing a pretty damn good job of this information game. They are going to read out Rampy, who's playing the Warden once again. We saw, actually in this last hold, IQ hop the window and get an immediate frag on a Rampy just off of timing. Didn't work out too well for him, but it seems that the main stairs and study area is going to be the mainstays for Space Station in this.
Sky's trying to challenge that main stairs angle, but no success on it right now. Can't really safely get into the position he needs to try and take out the Doc sitting up on top of that. So they're going to try and utility stun him out. 3 out of 4 of the Zofia grenades going to be thrown in against the Doc, but not really much to push him out into the open, unfortunately. Fultz still sits in that position. Rampy does as well on the other side. Rampy's going to take some heat here, though. He may actually have to evacuate in just a second unless he wants to really risk his life for the play right here and try to at least get the 1-for-1 before he ends up going down. But he's sticking around. That seems to have been worth it, at least for now, as Canadian gets the opener on Eclipse. Oh, hold though, trades not only on the Canadian, but then goes forward to find Rampy. Skies, you had to right, gets into this as well, and he's going to be able to find Fultz. So just like that, Space Station fall to pieces.
It's all I'm thinking, Nate, and Bosco. Can he spread those wings and fly once again like we saw him do last time inside of Gun Vault? 36 seconds remain. Not much utility in the hands of the defense. 4 remain on the offense. Do still have Evil Eyes in play, though, as nothing's coming in sight in order to break them. Still need a diffuser down, though, as DarkZero continues to sit and spin on this time. Skies gets taken down. Oh, no. SSG, are they going to push it? They will. Bosco to trade it out. He's knocked it down to the 1 versus 1. DarkZero, and specifically Hyper, to hype up this crowd here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's Sin City, baby. And Hyper's bringing it home.
DarkZero still in the fight. Seemed like they had given up, but not the case. They find a way to rebound, and they bring it all the way back to 5. Now tied up with Space Station. It's a lot quieter on that side of the stage all of a sudden. So they need to seriously get themselves together here, figure out what's been going wrong. That early round, it seems to have been DZ finding a lot more success with their picks, and most importantly, SSG isn't trading them out like they have in the past. So a timeout is going to be taken. SSG is going to try and figure some of this out with the help of their coach now.
A little bit of help here, but I honestly feel like they are playing a little bit rigid here with their setups. They're not allowing things to kind of mesh. You know, be like water, my friend. One of those things where you kind of have to try and coordinate as to what the offense is doing. The offense have done a very good job, especially in that last round, of countering out everything that SSG wanted to do, specifically the study hold, where we saw Hot and Cold with some very hot plays, specifically the one downstairs inside of Art, where he knew where the shield was, so he just shot him through the floor because it's soft. It was a very nice play by him to free up some space upstairs for the rest of their team. So, fact up on the board for you guys, Villla is typically favored 60% to the defensive side, but this match has been flipped, with the attackers winning 6 out of 10 rounds. Thank you once again to SSG, SSG, CGG, you know, CGG for all of their stats over the weekend, and especially updating those on their Twitter page to show you guys the breakdown of the matchups.
You're almost there, just an extra S. You know?
Yeah, you know.
Spam the key a little too.
I tend to do that, dude. S is what I fat finger.
All right, guys, well, we are unpaused, so we should be heading back in game in just a couple of seconds. SSG is going to be making a run for the living room, it would seem. Same as DZ did back in the last half, so this is going to be interesting to see play out, as both teams now have pretty much gone around the entire site rotation, I'm pretty sure. We never saw Statue come out of DarkZero. That's the only thing I can recall we've missed so far, but pretty sure SSG has tried every site now as of this round.
Well, we're going back downstairs to living room. I want to keep calling it laundry net. It's just, it's messing with me. But no, we are back downstairs, and once again, we'll give you the quick breakdown of this site. It's something that you want to have that vertical pressure on because practically all of the flooring above this site is soft. If you don't have that, then you're probably going to die because you can't rotate in between your sites or really have any movement at all. There's really only going to be a couple of safe havens that you can possibly occupy. So that's going to be the main prerogative for DarkZero, is to gain control of the upstairs, which it seems to be that SSG is going to be holding very, very wide, as we have Canadian all the way across the map popping hatches.
Hyper already going to start to do. Just a little bit of damage to peek into Master Bathroom here, see what's going on there. I don't believe he has any opposing presence coming in from SSG's side, and he's going to confirm that in just a second with a bit of drone work here. Again, Astronomy left completely open too. He sees that it's not deconstructed or messed up by the desk there, so he's going to see that as an all clear and start to push through and take control.
Well, drone in tandem with Hyper as he clears the entire upstairs. Hot and Cold adding to the drone army. Could possibly be adding to the drone army of the defense as well, since we do have Canadian on a lot of people's favorite operators nowadays. Mozzie, plenty of utility for that man, and he has these pests that allow you to steal the drones from the offense and use them for yourself to gain information throughout the map. We are going to be running the Mute Mozzie combo. You guys probably heard that earlier from our, well, mainstay Canadian here, which is actually not going to be Canadian. It's going to be Parker and Tara McKay. That combo in particular does a lot of damage to the information game of the offense, and along with that Mute, it's definitely going to be helping out just a little bit with Eclipse, but Eclipse has taken over all of the upstairs. He's walked in, he's taken down Thinking Nate, he's looking for two. Bosco, or excuse me, Rampy in behind the bar, trying to refrag his friend here, but they have plenty of presence now. Nitro Cell could pour in and get a couple of kills. What a toss, but it's not going to do too much. Hot and Cold going to take quite a bit of damage from somewhere. I believe it might have been through the wall, but they will drone him out as Rampy is twisting and turning behind the bar, but nobody wants to take a gunfight just yet. A quick shot, it's going to be Eclipse once again with the SMG-12. Haven't seen somebody die at that range with that gun in quite a while.
So DarkZero once again have found footing and not looking like they're going to let it go anytime soon either here. SSG down to their final 3 players. Skies going to move in here and regroup with the rest of his team. Their phone call going out here. Call Canadian and the rest of the squad here. Doesn't look like anyone from DarkZero got any amazingly useful intel off of that phone call. But at the same time, a couple of the players from SSG look like they're just going to let the full timer run out on that call because they don't feel safe enough to take it down themselves.
Yeah, don't want to put your gun away and try and get your phone out. Don't be lazy on the job, otherwise somebody might peek and you might end up losing your life. 25 seconds remain as Skies is having a gunfight through the floorboards. Somebody downstairs inside of the art vault. Hyper to take down 1, Hyper to take down 2, and all of a sudden it's up to Canadian. Now on the rotate, but gets shut down inside of Piano, and Skies letting them know. Oh no, DarkZero starting to warm up. This is exactly what we wanted to see.
Again, attacker's side, it continues to remain the name of the game, large part just because the teams are really indecisive on the sites they want to go to, flipping all the way around. Like I said, we just had the living room play from Space Station. I doubt they're going to go back to that with the way it just transpired. So they are going to try for what may very well be the final round of this map, Trophy and Statuary. It's now DarkZero for the first time in the lead and on map point.
Impressive showing so far by DarkZero on the offensive side. Pretty sure that everyone at home, including myself, didn't think that this offensive side was going to go that well. They did not have a great defensive showing. If anything, they need to shut it down here because going into the overtime, SSG might have something in store for them. I really feel like it's now or never for DarkZero to win this map. OT just does not feel like it could possibly go their way. SSG shaking a couple of things up. We're going to have Valkyrie picked up by Rampy, so a little bit more information game. But the issue is now, though, that Eclipse exists. Eclipse exists, let me say that properly, with Dokkaebi. And those logic bombs make it to where you can't be on your phone. Not a single one of those ops will be able to access their utility camera-wise when those logic bombs goes off, unless you either answer your phone or wait for the timer to run out. And since there's no echo, there's nobody that can possibly view any of that utility.
On top of that, we still have an IQ in play for the attackers as well. So some of these cameras, especially any ones that are chucked outside, are going to get dealt with relatively quickly by the attacking squad. It's more just going to be those few seconds of intel that you might be able to get for yourself. So the round breakdown here too. It's been very streaky from both teams' sides here. Besides the initial round on the half won by SSG, it's been 4 straight from DarkZero. They've really lit it up on the attacking side.
Have indeed. Overall, really an impressive showing by both of these teams. I think a lot of people thought that there might be a lackluster showing from DarkZero just because the roster is so fresh at the moment. But they're starting to bring things back, especially against SSG. SSG's always had a very, very rough curse that I hate talking about, but they've had a really, really big problem with shutting out games for a very long time. And this isn't just from like the Canadian perspective. It's been from before his time, ever since this roster began. They've always had a ton of talent, but could just never close out the games when it came down to it. But at the most recent showing in OGA Pit, they had a lot of maps where it was just seal the deal and move on with their day. So it seems like they've shaken quite a bit of it, but I don't want to see that come back and bite them.
Down to the 2-minute marker now. DarkZero with a lot of drone presence being cleared out here, specifically over towards areas like the kitchen, as they want to try and make sure again that roaming presence is not here. They should have actually been able to find out. So one player that is in the basement just a couple of seconds ago. I believe it would be Canadian on the pulse, but it could also be another player as well. Hyper, in the meanwhile, moving into master bathroom, will go back to droning just for the time being to see what astronomy is going to be looking like. They know they have the one evil eye to deal with on the top right side. That's honestly not much of a concern for them. Mainly that player sitting behind the reinforcement, that'll be an issue. They'll burn out one of the ADSs just with 2 charges being quickly deployed. Mint also trying to watch out here. I'm sure his team still has the capability to swing through and work their way out onto potentially statuary. That is needed as well, and they can't really push in through astronomy. They're going to try and attempt right now here. Sky's kind of having to brute force his way past that barbed wire, though, leads to a shutdown. Thinking Nade gets that. Bosco also being the one to take down Skies. Hot and Cold is now dead too, and I'm not sure if we got a whole lot of hard breach done. So that master bedroom wall can no longer be breached if they hadn't already done that.
Well, I like the idea using the logic bomb to try and mask the sound of that barbed wire, but that barbed wire, extremely loud, completely telegraphed the movement up Skies, up the staircase, and he gets immediately shredded, just like his brother Mint. And Folt's gonna tack on as well. All of a sudden it's into a 1v5 for Hyper, and he's not gonna have too much to say about it. We're going to overtime, folks. SSG brings it back on a flawless round. Let's make some noise. All right, well, in between these two teams so far, DarkZero has definitely shown a lot of promise on the offensive side moving into this overtime, and that's exactly what they're going to get, Blue. They're going to get the offensive side. We saw them multiple times be able to string rounds together, but the main thing is now, if they can win this offensive round, moving over to the defensive side, what site do they go to? I honestly think that they should go back to Kitchen. That seemed to be the most successful path for them to take. Their statuary defense worked out decently well, but the aviation games definitely did not.
And we never even actually saw their trophy either throughout the course of their traditional.
Oh yes, you are correct about that.
Yeah,
Apologies.
so that's something that I'm assuming they know how to play it. That would be pretty crazy for a team to not have that.
We saved it for overtime. That's what we did.
Yeah, so in theory they could bring that out as well and try to throw off their opponents with it too. They really wanted to try and stretch their logic a bit with the mind game here. But how successful that would be on that site. Either way, Spacestation still gets to take up a defensive mantle at the beginning of OT here, as Stokes was just mentioning. So they get the first round on this one, then we will continuously swap back and forth for 2 more rounds until we have a winner.
Spacestation going to Aviator Games, which is a site that was really only won off the back of the efforts of Bosco when it got down to that 2v1 situation and making some heroic plays with the SMG-11 and M590. But now into OT, they choose to go back to the same area. Do you think that they're going to try and make some adjustments here in order to make this a little bit more successful? We have the cardiac sensor of the pulse this time around, but with that, Canadian isn't on the northern side of the map. They're not in that trophy statuary area where you can play a lot deeper into the ground since you can play all the way in the basement. Here he's going to be in a lot more accessible area. He's going to be playing in that piano/living room area downstairs where he can be fragged out quite a bit more. But it seems that he actually has allocated himself over towards the basement, so I really don't know how much information he's going to get unless DarkZero tries to shift things towards a north to south take.
Another factor that could become a problem for Spacestation, I don't know this with absolute certainty yet, but it does look like obviously they've moved the Warden away from studies. They're not having that hold anymore, but it doesn't look like they've redoubled any kind of pressure over towards 90 just yet either. So that was the vulnerable portion of the map that really led to DarkZero getting access, and if that's going to be just as weak on this round, they could be looking at the same exact problem despite relocating their hold in the study, which now they don't have anymore. So really both areas can get pushed relatively easily right now.
Yeah, Fultz is actually inside of 90. He's on the short hallway towards the top of red stairs where Rampy is currently occupying. Canadian rotating himself back up red, identifying, hey, no one's taking over here almost halfway through the round, so I need to go somewhere else to make myself useful, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Some drones being set up inside of the long hallway, as well as a little bit of information game from study into sight. It's only Bosco and Thinking Nade, though. Thinking Nade has impacts as well as those electro claws to try and stop some things, but it's going to be a double EMP. Thinking Nade, he goes high, but he only gets a couple careful, which is going to make the wall cut a little weird. But more than likely, DarkZero is not going to be trying to get through there. They just want lines of sight to make it easier to put a plant down.
More important.
Oh, no!
Rampy, though, is going to be able to find Houghton, and that is a drop of the diffuser.
Well, rest of the team still outside, and only a minute remains here. No other pressure along the map, and this is where things get very rough on Villla. If you only have presence inside of Study when down to this minute time, then Fultz can just hold down 90 and make it practically impossible to take over the site if everything on site goes the proper way.
Fultz with a very drastic hold around the 90 angle as well, waiting to see if anybody is going to try to push into that. On the other side, he does have support.
It's going to be Hyper on main stairs. Impact grenade, I believe, goes off underneath. No, it's going to be Skystone, a frag grenade underneath as he rotates towards red stairs. Could be bumping into Canadian at any point in time. He should be reading them out from the lower side of the red stairs. Quick rotations here, and it's going to be all on Troy, and that's the beauty of the cardiac sensor, but he gets immediately shut down. Couldn't pick his target. Fast movement makes it to where the sound cue is so very loud. Rampy with 2. Another shot from Hyper as DarkZero's all hands on deck to try and take down this site. Only 10 seconds remaining, and this round could be the victory that DarkZero needs going into this defensive play. Bosco with a quick shot, but the SMG-11 can't do it, but the 12 can. Eclipse with the post plant here, trying to set things down. Fultz needs to shut him down. A pre-fire takes out one, but no. A quick shot, the plant goes down, but DarkZero! Oh my! What a round here in round 13. Skies lets him know, and I haven't seen that man excited on land in such a very long time.
It's Skies as well that picks up those 2 pivotal kills at the end of the round and seals the deal for his team. So once again, coming in clutch. More importantly, though, the thing we need to talk about here is Skies has usually been picking up the frags in the early round, not necessarily the late round. More recently, it's been Hyper just opening up opportunity after opportunity for DZ to carve their way into these sites and pick up round after round. He needs to truly be commended for that as well.
Yeah, Hyper, such an impressive player that we've always highlighted inside of North America, that he is one of the best fraggers, and you guys see exactly why. Yeah, he might have been quiet for the first series here, or so the series so far, but when the kid gets warmed up, he's insane, man. He is so good at this video game. But overall, I would say that especially that last little instance, those last 5 seconds of that round, really shook a lot of things up. It was very, very weird how things finally transpired. I thought that Fultz was going to get the kill onto the man planting, but it just became a trade game. And obviously, since DarkZero had numbers, they kind of win that.
And again, it's Hyper that does the work, working with that full push they had. All these players grouped together, a team effort, but Hyper finding most of the final blows and just pushing their way through, even if one of them went down, which that's the other key part of that push that worked so dang well for DarkZero, is that they didn't lose anyone that was in that stack. Everybody stayed alive. So by the time they get to the site with it, they've now got 3 guys ready to push in. They just picked up 2 or 3 kills in the process. So it's easy to take the site control at that point. And that has often been how DarkZero has won rounds, through a trade game, through the capability to just knock out players from SSG in the early round.
All I'm going to say is I really need to know what Eclipse has on that SMG-12, because I've never seen that thing be so accurate in my life. Like, obviously, pre-patch, it was an insane gun, but now its recoil pattern is literally like a weird Z with a circle. It literally just jumps everywhere. It's the RNG gun, and the man has just been slamming with it. It's been extremely impressive so far to watch.
So we are going to end up in the same site for DarkZero's attempt to win this on defense. Should it go south, they're going to have to do it on attack, though, and Spacestation will be given a second chance here if they tie it up at 7-7. But that means they're winning this round on attack as well. That has been the way that this game has been played, though. It's been incredibly attacker-sided. So that is not out of the realm of possibility, but it has been a while, of course, since we've seen the players from SSG beyond that. So hopefully they're not going to be a little bit... Hopefully they're going to be warmed up.
10 seconds left before insertion.
A little bit of a flashback all the way to last year at this event, John, where we had SSG actually go to quarters, or excuse me, semis or conference finals, and it ended up losing to Rise Nation, if I remember correctly. That's a... No. I believe that is correct. No, I can't. Oh no, my Liquipedia brain is shutting down. I want to say that they ended up losing to Rise, if I remember correctly. But again, full year ago. But SSG was at the tournament last year with a very, very different roster. Only remaining member once again is going to be Thinking Nade. Bosco and everybody being added at a later date. Bosco, I believe, was there last year as well. It's just a lot of roster moves since this roster has came into the limelight. But right now, they need to make a stand. If they are able to bring it back and match it up to 7-7 and eventually win this map, that's going to be a 2-0 in their favor. A lot of people at home have DarkZero's as the favorites to win this entire tournament, beating out SSG and the rest of the pack.
Not a whole lot of direct confrontation starting between the two teams at the beginning of what could be the penultimate, or what could be the final round, actually, of this match. Could be the penultimate round, too. Got Bosco. He's actually coming very close to hitting those sprays right there, but just been off the timing by a couple seconds each time. So no damage found. On the backing up a little bit. Does fully breach the window, so may have something get thrown at him here in a couple of seconds. That's why he's stuck around on the rappel waiting for it. Now the drone goes in. He'll start to explore towards 90. Fultz will go for a quick leap just in case there was anyone waiting at the edge of his connector. All those drones are going to be dealt with relatively quickly, as you might expect, but that's not stopping SSG. They've got, again, a lot of intel. That's what's been dangerous for them, is they've been doing a lot of droning work, and it's usually been really successful. So when they execute, more than likely, they're executing with full intel.
Quick check of the Wikipedias for you guys. Spacestation beat Rise Nation in the quarters last year and then lost to Rogue, who eventually won the whole thing up against Evil Geniuses. If you guys want to collectively use your brains with me, you'll remember that Gotcha played for Evil Geniuses back then because they couldn't get a visa for one of their players on Evil Geniuses. So overall, a fun tournament, and we're hoping that this one turns out the same, but we got to figure out who's going to win between these two teams right now. 58 seconds remain, as we do still have Eclipse at the top of main stairs. Canadian trying to make some lines of sight. Smoke goes down, but a pre-fire coming through the smoke now. An impact over as he's setting just a little bit too high.
45 seconds remaining. Still no real progress being made just yet for SSG in trying to breach their way into this site. They're going to have to do it now. Otherwise, they'll risk leaving themselves with not enough time to clear out. DZ, in the meanwhile, just sitting back and letting that time run down. They have no issue doing that. They still have such powerful positioning on the inside of this stairwell. You can see SSG trying to contest it, but they just don't have a real way to get in. That's going to change now. A 2-for-1 exchange into their favor gives them a man advantage. Now an additional one. 4v2 is the way this will fall down. 2 players left on the inside of the sites. Bosco is going to be able to take out one of them as he gets a double kill on the round. Now everything falls to Mint. Waiting for the rotate to come in. He's going to be able to get one, yes, but there's a lot more players waiting just around the corner. Trying to find number 2 right now. Hasn't been able to locate it just yet. Diffuser on the ground. Mint trying to push back out and locate it. We'll bring out his eye tracker as well and see where exactly he's looking, if you're wondering what that bubble is. As he wraps around the corner, though, he misses the player in the plant position. Spacestation preserve and maintain themselves to push this to one final round on the second map.
You thought it was going DarkZero's way until the very end. They got the initial frags, they shut down the overall take from Study, but then something happens all the way in the rear of the site. They have control of 90, they have control of red stairs, and they start picking off everyone that's trying to rotate through the site on DarkZero and get plenty of presence in order to get a diffuser down. Get a diffuser down in behind the vault door, which is one of the defaults for that site, and all of a sudden, you have yourself a death match. The TCSG does not prove to avail overall, and all of a sudden, we're at overtime match point. If SSG comes away with the victory, it's a 2-0. If DarkZero does, we're moving to Consulate.
Let's find out which it will be as we're heading into it now, and we are going to be returning to Trophy.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they
First times that we'll actually see this site played, I think only the second or third time overall in the game that will end up on it. And once again, it'll be SSG's pick that takes us to that site. So let's see what exactly DZ have to try and win this. It's been an amazing game from players like Skies, Hyper as well, despite him being at the bottom of the scoreboard. And you've even got Eclipse. Some of the other guys stepping up to the plate as well when it comes to that scoreboard that you just saw before you a few seconds ago.
Back to the panel view for you guys, so you guys can see how things are being set up, what everyone's doing. So once again, production for setting all of this stuff up. I really like this since we've had this at LANs where we can see what everyone is doing, and if you want to particularly see how SSG uses, for instance, Maestro, you can see where he puts those cameras at, where he's going to be playing, what have you. Just a very nice setup for everybody at home. So once again, thank you guys for that. As we finally get into the round, though, we're going to have Canadian back on the pulse. Can the big bad Canadian come back and finally seal the deal for SSG? So far has actually been pretty equal across SSG for the most part. We've seen a lot of showing from Bosco, a little bit of sparks of success from Thinking Nade, as well as Rampy. So a mixture of that entire concoction, especially with DarkZero and how they've been battling on offense. This is definitely going to be a round for the making.
As you might have expected, DarkZero still with a lot of intel work to do in this early round, so exploring is still the name of the game for them. But they've led Hyper in to push on his own game. 2 trades, however, going to happen. Mint will end up getting Canadian from the grave after we see him get eliminated on a push. Also important to note, Hot and Cold taking a massive amount of damage, just a sliver of HP remaining.
Yeah, as well as Mint being on Thatcher. And for this site, extremely important, but as you guys can notate from the operator lineup for SSG, not that important because they don't have very much to get rid of. Obviously, you can use the EMPs in order to disable cameras, as well as possibly break some smoke grenades if you time them right, as well as those ADSs, but for the most part, it's used to try and unelectrify walls. And since they don't have any of that, it's going to be pretty successful. Oh, Skies gets shot through the floor. The first skeleton goes off, a random shotgun shot will come through for Bolts. Does quite a bit of damage. Hyper rotates out through the garage. Still plenty of time on the board as well. Eclipse is going to pick up some cameras. So now the dead Canadian can coordinate his entire team through the utility of the, DarkZero and Mint can coordinate their entire team through the utility of the defense camera-wise. So now Rampy is all of a sudden a detriment to his defense.
Yeah, Rampy was actually creeping around a second ago. Was an actually nice opportunity to try and find him, find Skies, I should say, from the Valkyrie's point of view, but was not able to catch that. Just ended up going in to take out a drone, I believe. Houghton, though, despite the low HP, is going to be able to knock out Fultz over by Astronomy or on the inside. Trophy for the rest of the team. It's going to be a lot more sitting back and trying to wait this out here. Thinking Nate specifically, you can hear that phone ringing, but he cannot answer it right now. Just going to let the timer run out on him as he knows there's someone right around the corner ready to take the fight. DarkZero have a man advantage, but they need someone who can actually take the fight due to the low HP. It's Hyper once again that steps up to the plate for his team. Rampy's there a second later to trade it as he takes out Houghton. So Hyper still in play right now, and they need him to. Eclipse, however, this time moves in to be able to find the next pickup for Rampy. We're down to only Bosco. What a find, though! 8 seconds left now to try and plan it as he interrupts Hyper in the middle of it. Some damage being taken. They're going to try and pinch him out. There's an open wall here now. He's dropped one of them. The plant's going down, and they are sticking it. He's trying to spam into it, but no, that's a dead player. Finds the finisher on the kill instead. Diffuser goes down, and we are into the 1v1. Bosco looks to shut this down here as the Rap is going to come in. He's going to try to encircle his opponent, but at the same time, he also moves out onto the top of Red Stairs, trying to spam in, trying to get something that'll bring him out into the open. But right now, Space Station are not being given that utility. There's the tap. Do we see a push on DZ? Yes, we do, but he misreads it, and SSG get the clutch. Now, do they have enough time for that defuse? They've got plenty. Bosco clutches it for Space Station Gaming, and they take a 2-0 win in overtime, an 8-7 here in the Eastern Conference semifinal.
There is no way in hell that you're gonna let Bosco do that to you. What an impressive showing from him. He baits Eclipse in. The man had been playing so well throughout this entire series that SMG 12 finally sells him out on the last round.
And so Space Station Gaming secure victory over their opponents. Bosco ending at 19-9 on the matchup. Thinking Nate at 13-11. Fultz at 12-12. And it continues to move from there. Amazing performances from the team. A bit of a slip up there on their defensive side, to be fair, but they rebound in overtime in a very big way with some big clutches coming in from Bosco throughout the course of it.
And that's one thing that you have to love about Rainbow Six Siege. At the end of the day, it's all love. You can talk all that trash on the field, but when it comes down to it, it's still fist bumps and love. And overall, SSG, guys, they're looking really good right now. This is probably the best SSG that I've ever seen, but you guys have heard enough from us. Let's go talk to Jackie.
What a map, too. That was a huge victory. My heart is racing. I can only imagine how you feel. I mean, a lot of people thought DZ was going to go all the way. So what's going through your head right now?
I mean, we came into the match knowing we're the real dream team in NA. They might throw 5-star players together, but we got the real lineup. We have all the pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, actually, I want to ask you about that. You're adjusting to a new role, trying to establish chemistry here. What are you doing to do that?
I mean, I just came into the team. I had to adapt to a new play style that I wasn't really used to, but it was one that I believed in, that SSG ran, and at first it kind of was rocky. I was on entry roles, which I probably shouldn't have been on this lineup. My teammates are so crazy that like I should definitely be on support. So I had to adjust that new role, but it's honestly really easy. Like I just call out the bad guys and my 4 teammates shoot them all. So yeah.
I'm sure you did a lot of prep. Were you surprised when you played on DZ's weakest maps? What was your reaction to that? And did you guys change your strat, or did you expect it?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that we were going to play one of their weakest maps, either Coast or Villla. We didn't think they would pick Coast and give us both, but I don't know, they picked it, I guess, so.
When they picked that, were you like, okay, we got to do this, or you're like, all right, we're going to roll with this?
I mean, yeah, we had a game plan for every map coming in. We knew what we wanted to do, so just kind of focused on our game. We didn't overthink things. We usually do that. Like I'm aware of how teams play usually. I don't try to psych the other teammates out. I just kind of keep it in my mind, and my teammates just kind of listen to my calls round around, and works out well.
So just great prep then. There you go, guys. Okay, so you've had some vocal haters calling you out. What do you got to say to them after this?
I mean, there's not much to say. I'm just going to keep my head down, keep working, and I don't know, prove them wrong. There's nothing to say, though. I've kind of had it the whole way through Siege. I have a ton of supporters, and with that comes a ton of haters, so it's bound to happen, and it is what it is.
Let your play speak for itself, right? Thank you so much.